There's that. Guess for some reason the Steinberg wasn't working again for a brief moment, so I had to be like, motherfucker, do your job. Okay, we got that. Twitter. That's the thing I needed. Needed to post the Twitter announcements. And this one. Okay. Everything is posted. Alright. Broadcasting to you live from a brand new desk. It's Wife City. Itty. Still waiting for my wife to get out of the bathroom where she's...
I gotta take off the clothes I was wearing in public transit.
Don't know if anyone could hear what she is saying. Also, hi Evie, welcome to the stream. But yes, we do indeed have a desk. It feels good to have a desk and not be, Oh no, you're not late at all, Golfcash. You are right on time. We are literally just getting started in a minute here. Still waiting for Bree to change clothes and junk, but yeah. Yeah, yes, Pooch, you get the real deal Doppler effect on Bree. Not a joke one this time, but the actual, she's in the other room currently, so you can't hear her voice full on.
It's the real thing. I'm getting better at throwing my voice. I'm actually right up against the mic.
That's not true in the slightest.
It's entirely true.
It's not.
Well, if I was, I'd be there by now. That's true.
Yeah, we're no longer, as you'll see once I switch over to the camera, we're no longer huddled around a record stand. It's going to be behind us next to a bookcase instead of being the thing that we have our computer monitor on. Here she comes. You should walk from the bathroom while talking so they get the full Doppler effect. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jay. Honestly, the way that I see it, I've been here this whole time. I don't know what you're talking about.
There you go. And scene.
Hey! What's
Hi
up,
everyone.
Hey!
Welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
Hope you're having a wonderful day. I just got off work, ate some very, very spicy chicken, and now we are ready to tell you all about our albums.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Sure.
I gotta say, I'm already feeling this is our first any kind of stream that we've done with the desk, and this. Not only did I miss having a desk, but this is better than our other desk.
Oh yeah,
it's so roomy. We can sit back. We got like there's two monitors here. I don't feel like everything's right in our face.
And we got that discount too. This is a fucking sturdy ass desk.
Yeah,
this is not some like fucking particle board.
Yeah,
desk
this isn't like you put something
have.
down on it and then it raises a ring of wetness. You know, it weighs like it's made of stone.
Well, I was saying
glad
the
we
material
had someone to help us move it.
It almost looks like marble, like countertop type shit, but
Almost.
it's not.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Pooch. Appreciated.
What
also, we'll take our time, Gothgash. We'll say our albums very slowly, so you have time to get back. Oh, good. Your phone's working again. Glad.
Yay. The best woodwork made out of cursed trees. Yes.
That's right. I guess let's get it started off. I my number 50 album is Yeezus by Kanye West. I've thought about it for a long time. I have a very complicated relationship with Kanye West.
Yeah.
Like, especially the Kanye West of, like, the last 4 or 5 years.
It's,
but, God, Yeezus is so fucking good.
It is.
It is, wait. Oh, wait, I also need to start the music.
Oh, yes.
Have that in the background.
I'd probably turn that music down a little. I don't know. How is the music compared to our voice? Is that sounding okay?
I mean, I feel like it should be fine. I'll turn it down, like, the tiniest
Just a
bit.
skosh. Yeah.
But, Gothcash says, imagine an empowering album for black people undercut by a chorus about sucking dick. that kind of pretty tersely summarizes Kanye West. Is, like, one of those individuals who, like, sometimes he has a song that's like, damn, yeah, man, fucking yeah, and then you hit a point where you're like, come on, Kanye, why'd you have to do that?
Why'd you have to make it weird?
Why
Come
city?
on.
Oh, hey, thank you for the follow video page.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the stream.
Welcome, welcome. What was that? Is there more to say on that?
I mean, it's my favorite Kanye West album. It's one of my favorite Death Grips albums. It's my favorite Daft Punk album. Like,
Yeezus?
yeah, I've told you about this before. There are tracks on Yeezus produced by Daft Punk.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, like the production on it is so fucking good.
Yeah,
and it's so interesting for him. It feels like a logical progression from, like, some of the stuff he's doing on, like, 808s and Heartbreaks. Yeah, Gothcash says I hated 808s. I'm not gonna ban you. That's probably my least favorite Kanye album of the ones that I've listened to personally. I don't hate it, but it does not, like, hit me super strong personally. So that's what I feel about it. But it feels like a good step forward from what he was doing in 808s, for, like, a lot of, like, auto-tuning stuff, but it doesn't feel like him just kind of, like, playing around with it.
Yeah.
It feels like him more, like, actually utilizing it, if that makes sense. But yeah, just a lot of fucking fun songs on that album. Excellent, like, instrumentals on it. It is a great time. I love Yeezus. Unapologetically.
There you go.
Anyways, and you're number 50.
Hey, it's Rose Mountain by the Screaming Females. I don't remember what exact album it was that I got started on them, but they're a mostly punk-slanted rock band that female-fronted. There's only one female, so false advertising. But very, very good band. Very diverse range of sounds come from them. This album especially, just it really goes in so many different places, and it's a wonderful album that in its own still does mesh together into one uniform sound, though, at the same time. You've heard it. I think this was one of the albums I got you to, like, really listen to.
It's a good album. I haven't listened to it enough for it to, like, become, like, part of, like, my lexicon of, like, yeah, this fucking album. But, like, what I listened to of it, it's super solid.
Yeah.
It has, like, a good, like, thickness to it. Like, there's a, like, thick grit to the instrumentals on that album, and, like, her vocals are, like, super unique sounding. Like, just there's a, like, vibrato that she does. She has, like, I think she's in, like, a contralto, like, type range, which is, like, the lower range of, like, female vocalists.
Yeah.
So, like, just really good stuff.
It's wonderful.
There.
That's about all I have to say about it. I highly recommend it.
For sure. Wafie makes an interesting point. The way Kanye's work is described here reminded me of Frank Zappa more than anything.
Yeah, God.
Yeah?
Like, here's the thing. The reason there's no Zappa on this list is because A, an entire album by him is hard to recommend, and B, God, he's done some and said some stuff in songs that are like, you shouldn't
do
that.
Like, I know you have a sense of humor, but also...
buddy, listen.
Oh, to touch on one little thing from Yeezus, like, I also can't always be mad at Kanye because, like, in some ways he takes himself too seriously, but also then he has a line in a song where he says, "Hurry up with my damn croissants."
Yeah.
And you can't
not.
in full seriousness say that.
Yeah.
Like, especially not on a rap verse where you're talking about, where, like, the chorus is, "I am a god."
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a sense of humor about yourself to throw in that kind of line there.
It's a very blurred line.
And I'm gonna turn down the music. It looks like that one's a little bit louder.
Alrighty.
Okay. My number 49. Damn French restaurants. Curse them.
Dude, like, Kanye, do you know how long it takes to make that pastry? A considerable amount of time.
My number 49 is Relationship of Command by At the Drive-In. Fucking good-ass, like, quintessential post-hardcore album. A lot of people say this is, like, one of the best ones. There's a lot of people who kind of poo-poo a little band called the Mars Volta, because of how good At the Drive-In was, especially this album in particular. But, like, there are dips in it that aren't as strong, but, like, the tracks in it that really drive are so fucking good. Cedric's voice on it, he has such a unique voice. It's still, like, before he as a singer really developed and, like, felt like he got a proper technique like he did in the Mars Volta. But because of that, he's got that nice grit that you do when you're still in, like, a punk band.
Yeah,
essentially.
The sad truth of it is the worse you treat your body, the less educated you are in delivering your voice, the rawer and realer it sounds. And, like, that's a really weird end result of that.
And also the guitarist was, like, who went on to also be in the Mars Volta. Like, you get, like, a lot of interesting, like, guitar riffs, stuff like that. Like, the guitar on that album is fascinating because, like, you can tell that he was starting, like, kind of getting a bit more dissonant and out there with some of the stuff he was doing, but still not all the way there. It's a fascinating transition between what At the Drive-In was and what the Mars Volta ended up being. I think that's a lot of why Relationship of Command is an album that still kind of sticks with me even now. Like, I think there's better post-hardcore albums out there that exist that are just better, like, solid pieces of music.
Absolutely. But
that one, as, like, a kind of, like, historical kind of, like, touchstone is fascinating to me still. Yeah. It's got One Arm Scissor on it. It's fucking good. It's got Invalid Letter Department. Great song.
Good songs.
It's got a lot of good jams on it. Catacombs. Anyways, that's the majority of what I have to say about Relationship of Command.
All right, what's my 49?
Your 49 was...
Hey, 808, 88, 98 by 808 State. Here's a fun fact. A couple of tracks on this album. Another...
Oh, wait, sorry to cut you off. There's a little thing that Pooch said. Frank Zappa, who could construct a complex, beautiful piece of music and then put in lyrics full of racism and homophobia.
Yep. he falls in that pit of a genius, but...
You don't want to praise him too much for being a genius.
I want to put him in timeout. So
you bonk him with the genius hammer, just...
So this is where we start, like, very much leaning into nostalgia stuff. A portion of this album I was listening to a lot when I was, like, 10, the first time I came to this city. I really like Portland. I do. So, like, the first time I came out here, that was a portion of my life wherein I was starting to listen to a ton more music. There was this, like, this just immense amount of, like, you know, pop culture and music suddenly at my fingertips via Napster. I was starting to learn about a lot of different artists, and this was in some of the mix discs and stuff I was listening to whilst getting about town. And So I found the rest of this album because In Your Face is one of those tracks on here that, like, to this day, takes me back to being 10. And in the very weird way that I wasn't alienated and gross about myself then. It was just like, it was like I found home, from where I was. And it was just a very, very wonderful time. And this portion of the album that, like, starts it off, a lot of these songs can be found in different mixes at different RPM, different speeds, depending on the recording. But this is some of the best versions of these songs. It's a compilation of a lot of different tracks, and it is probably my favorite album by 808 State, ultimately. Very, very gritty. Very heavy on, like, the saw tones, you were listening to it earlier and going, like, what are all these noises? And I'm saying these noises are perfection.
I think I did phrase it exactly like that, yes.
But some good contemporary electronic, wonderful place to get a little bit of instrumental electronic music into your life. And I gotta say, I don't think it's on this album in particular, if I'm correct, but I know there's a couple albums that they did some stuff with Bjork. And those tracks are very good too. So 808 State, ultimately, just wonderful thing to listen to. And that's all I gotta say.
For sure.
It's just real good stuff.
Gotcha. Right.
So what's your next one here?
My number 48 is Scrambles by Bomb the Music Industry.
Ooh.
First instance of Jeff Rosenstock. Not the last one on my list, but definitely the first. Good fucking ska album. It's good. It's very good. It has a lot of good songs on it. I don't have too much to say about it. It's one of those ones I don't have, like, a super strong emotional connection with it. There's some tracks on it that I do, but not as, like, a whole. Scrambles is probably the best place to start with Jeff Rosenstock as a... Yes. I know it seems impossible. Against all odds, there does exist good ska out there.
That was going to be my question, because all the ska that I've heard and enjoyed have been songs. Not albums, songs. This is a good whole album? I haven't heard this one, I don't think.
Yeah. Scrambles is a, like, fully, like, front to back good album.
See, I need to check this out now.
You would like it.
Right on.
I've had you listen to some Bomb the Music Industry before. Like, some of their stuff doesn't go, like, as ska heavy. It probably is, like, ska punk, like, leaning more towards the punk, like, pop punky kinds of stuff, but not as much towards the ska. This is, like, the one of his that I would say is, like, or at least my favorite of his that leans the most towards that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's a good introduction to that kind of music, especially in the modern day. It's fun.
Nice.
It's a fun album, and that's the majority of what I gotta say about it.
All right.
I'm quite fond of Fishbone. They put out many good albums, but they're not just ska, says Wafidi. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of what I was saying about Bomb Music Industry, is like they're ska, but it's not their entire focus. Like, I think in this day and age, it's kind of hard to find a band that's successful and entirely focused on ska.
Yeah. Ska is kind of hard to, really get out there.
Is this your first YMO album on here?
I don't know. Did Technodelic happen yet? Because I feel like that one
Technodon is your first one.
No, Technodelic is a different one, though.
Oh, no, yeah. I think that one was
So this one's a little bit further up here. This is more of just, like, the really, like, psychedelic stuff that they did. The really just very, very spacey, very bizarre stuff. And just, it's ambient. There's some lyrics. There's some samples. It's just really good. It's probably, quite possibly, my favorite YMO album. And that's weird to say, but it's easier to realize when I figure, like, yeah, you know what, because when I think YMO, I think all the projects they've all done and been a part of. It's like there's a lot, but as YMO as a collective, I feel like this is really up there. Like, this is a big one. I really enjoyed this one, and I think it's just peak YMO is all I can say.
How do ska bands decide who gets to wear a dumb hat, and why is it always a brass player? Probably because they have to move around the least.
I think that if you wear, a fedora, You go down in charisma, but up in trumpet ability. I think that's how that works.
It's like fucking Samson and his hair.
Yeah.
Like you take the fedora off of like a ska trumpet player and he can't play it anymore.
Girls start hitting on him. You know, it reverses everything. And it's just... it's wild, but...
That's good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
But yeah, good YMO album. I like it.
Interesting, when it came to that period of YMO, the rec I read was to go with the live album, that Techno Dawn was too anemic, says Wafidi.
I was anemic, how do you mean? Like musically speaking?
Yeah. Well, while Wafidi's getting to you on that.
Hot brass licks, takes hat off.
Yeah, just... Anyways.
I don't know how to play the trumpet.
I got this one from a wizard on the side of the road. It gave me the power to play trumpet good.
Wizard hat.
Oh, wizard fedora.
Wizard fedora. That's what I'm gonna call my experimental rock trio.
I thought you were gonna say that's what you're gonna call your ska band that you eventually form.
You know, it's all part of the cryptid nature of how it came to be when I bought that hat.
Alright, my 47 is Marnier Stern's self-titled album. Fucking great stuff. Like, one of the most interesting guitarists out there currently, and probably one of the best ones. Just a lot of... She's one of those people that, like, I've seen a lot of talk on as being, like, one of the best modern guitarists, and like you see people talk about that type of shit with like Buckethead and stuff like that, and you listen to it and it's like, yeah, I mean, you play the guitar fast. It's nice that you can do the...
You know, it's the Les Claypool effect, it's the Dream Theater effect, it's the you clearly have a gimmick and you sure as hell made a bunch of albums doing that same thing, and good for you. But does it hold up in that range, you know?
But the thing with Marnier Stern is, sorry, not trying to disparage Les Claypool.
Not at all. Just, like, he has an iconic sound.
Yeah.
That is a positive, and it is a continuous sound that... And
for better or for worse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you phrase it, kind of thing. Usually.
Yeah, because I have many different artists I love who, for the love of God, they sound exactly like they always do, and that's why I keep coming back. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, for Marnier Stern, she creates such a, like, interesting soundscape with the guitar work she does on her songs. Like, you listen to the very opening of this self-titled album, like the song is called For Ash, and it just like immediately pulls you and you're like, oh damn, this is fucking wild. And then the thing that I think like kind of brings it out a bit more, she also sings on a lot of her songs, and she has a distinct style to her singing. I wouldn't say that she's a great singer, but it lends itself to the type of music that she plays a lot of times.
For sure.
So like it's a very interesting listen. One of those ones where like instrumentally it's one of those albums that lifts itself up more instrumentally than anything else for me.
Sure.
So
right out.
Good album.
Awesome.
Your 47 is... Oh, there it is again.
Yep. So we've already kind of gone over this.
Yeah. I mean, it was a stream ago.
It was.
You can very lightly touch on it if you have anything you need to say.
It has relaxing properties that bring the soul to a grounded state when you're in a place of panic. We used it many times to accomplish this effect and continue to this day. Wonderful ambient music. It just makes you float on a spiritual level. It's very, very nice, wonderful compositions.
Piano notes played every so often. Music for airports moment. Alright, what was my 46? I might have a burp.
Oh no! Well, we're canceled.
Excuse me.
How dare you? Live. Hey, there's a good one.
My number 46 is Vespertine by Bjork. Finally some Bjork on this list. And
yes.
My favorite Bjork album. It's so fucking good. It's maybe a little bit front-loaded, but like the from the very beginning of that album to like Frosty is some of the best chunk of like music in my heart ever. Like, I hear the beginning of Pagan Poetry every single time that song comes on. Like, I hear the very opening like notes of it, I'm like, oh
my soul.
God. Because I know everything that's gonna happen in that song, and it just rips my heart out. It's so good. Like, and me saying it's front loaded isn't so much to like discredit the rest of that album. It's still really good, but those first 6 songs are so fucking good that it is just incredible. Like, it is hard to deny the power of it. Oh, we got a follow here from hi, thank you for the follow. And Golf Gash says Bjork deserved more mainstream success. Yes,
I agree.
She still does. I would argue that she still deserves more mainstream success. But God, yeah, it's so good. Vespertine is so fucking good.
Alright, what was my 46?
Your 46 was...
Hey, The Soul Inhabitant by Thomas Dolby. This sounds weird because it is technically a compilation, being a live album. This is everything that a live album should be. There's a different sound to the way that he does these songs now. He plays them at, plays and sings them actually at like a lower register. The way that these are produced, the way that the songs are played on this are my favorite mixes of some of his songs. The recording on it is incredible. A lot of live albums can just be audience noise and generally not very great production end on the music, but this just freaking nails it. It's absolutely incredible. And just the compilation in itself of what he puts into this show is just an amazing amalgamation of his work. I really started falling in love with Dolby's work when I heard this album, and then I started deep diving, and then I made a video about it. Because I've mentioned in the previous thing, I used to talk about music on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So basically, he's really good. He's really
Science!
good. Yeah. That's...
Bree might have issues with that being the one song that everyone knows.
Still no one's told me who Eddie Harmony is, but apparently he's very sweet. But he's a really, really good songwriter, and I think that like the thing that I love is beyond loving the production that he does, he paints a fucking picture when he writes a song. His lyrics are so they're just heartwarming and like fascinating and inspiring, and they make me want to write real music.
I'll say that song Field Work that he did with Ryuichi Sakamoto is like fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
that's like a paint swatch of his writing, for example.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say like the writing on it is like super evocative.
Yeah,
like the imagery that he's painting in it is very, very good.
He paints an image in your brain.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So yeah, really great guy, really great album, best example of like production in a live album, and I love it
for sure. All right,
good stuff.
See, we're getting better at tightening up our our explanations.
No, tighten up. That was why.
I know. My number 45 is "The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me" by Brand New. The fucking, I want to say that one of the members of this band ended up turning out to be a fucking absolute scumbag, but you know. Are you seeing anyone? Can I take you to dinner? I think I have someone that might have issue with that.
We're actually going to our anniversary dinner tonight.
We're going to anniversary dinner tonight after the stream. But so this is another one of those albums that I got from my brother, like circa thank you. Circa whenever this album came out. I think it was like 2004, 2005-ish. And it's always stuck out to me since then. Even now, it's still just a really good, moody piece of like emo emo music. Like, it's not all like just simple pop songs. Like the majority of the songs on it have like a solid chorus to it, but like every song kind of like just dulls out, has like a really slow burn quality to it that is like really, really good, and like pulls at you and makes you feel that like kind of that emotional turmoil, like the album describes. The devil and God are raging inside me.
Yeah.
Like, it's evocative of that, and it's real good. It's a fucking solid example of like mid 2000s like indie music.
Righto.
It's a great listen.
Before we move on, there was something from Mofidi. Golden Age of Wireless is an undeniably great album, except for that song. And I agree. In fact, I believe when I researched it, the original version of that album didn't have it on it, and it was re-released after a single came out. So
weird.
That single ruined that album, basically. But yeah, no, it is a fine album, and I really don't fault you for very much kind of clinging to it. There's a lot of wonderful tracks on there.
Let's see. You said one of the dudes is in Brand New is Shitty. I didn't know that, but where do y'all fall on the separation of art and artist? It depends on like how much of a scumbag we're talking about.
Yeah.
And also like there ends up just being a certain, I don't want to say you excuse it, but I think as you get older, you start to grow more of just a like actual separation between those two things, like being able to look at a piece of art and say, damn, that's really good. Dude who made it fucking sucks though.
Yeah. But I do admit there are
Yeah.
certain thresholds that I think are personal to everyone, that when
Yes.
someone breaks them, it becomes, I actually can't enjoy this anymore.
Yeah.
And we've all got it, and like I think that it just varies.
Yeah, it depends on person to person. Like, it's the type of thing where unless you're being like an edgelord about like liking something because the person is shitty or something like that,
Yeah.
I don't fault really most people that are able to make those exceptions between or make those divisions between the art and the artist. You know, like John Lennon made some good bops, but also beats woman, and everyone forgets. Yep.
Yeah. He made some beats. Ugh. That's the real evil, is that people like John Lennon, when it becomes the like people just don't address it or deny it or just never bring it up, and it's like, that's kind of worse.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
to not even address it.
I think as long as you're able to address it
Yeah.
and able to very solidly like make that division, then you know, that's where I fall on the separation of art and artist is. It's on you as the viewer to draw your own conclusions.
It's often easier if the artist is dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes it significantly easier.
Yes.
Getting flashback to a guy I used to work with who was in an emo band and loved many of the same artists Jay's listing. What can I say? I'm a child of the mid-2000s. Imagine sucks so much. Imagine if you love Imagine.
I can't even imagine.
Or sorry, if you love Imagine is what Evie said. And you're 45. Oh, there it is again.
So yet another one we've previously mentioned. This for me is like, was it Vince Staples was talking about the song Creep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About
No. That wasn't Vince Staples. No. You're thinking of completely different guy. You're thinking of Patrice O'Neal,
Patrice
the comedian.
O'Neal. Thank you. I've been reading up on a bunch of artists. I get confused. So they have that whole bit where there's like, I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have own slaves or anything, but like, I'm weird. And then
Patrice O'Neal is talking about
white
like
people ascend when they hear the song. For me, that was Float On, and it still is. And the rest of this album is just consistently as wonderful and amazing. It's just a really, really good album in its entirety. I wanted to make even like a video when I was doing those deeper dives into, into the hit issue with people. With like, oh, this hit is great. Like, listen to the rest of the freaking album. It's an amazing album. All of their work is great. This one's probably my favorite album by them, at least that I've sat down and listened to. There's probably a few I still need to thumb through, but just an amazing album. Yeah. That makes my white nerdy soul just ascend. It's good stuff.
That album is great. They're one of the worst live shows I've ever seen, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
To be fair, they strike me as one of those bands that wouldn't be very interesting live.
Yeah. A little bit.
And then Wafidi said, going back a bit, my intro to YMO was an acquaintance who reviewed their whole discography. He felt Technodon was a real drought of good melodies and didn't like the lack of energy. Faster tempo and added live instruments of Technodon live, however, made him like the material more.
Oh, fascinating.
And then Gothgash said, if I find out someone sucks, I'll stop with their stuff going forward. There are albums I've liked from people that I found out later were trash cans, but it usually doesn't affect me if I already like their stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good method.
It was in a club like maybe 6-7 years ago. People started talking like it was ugh. Yeah, that's never a good sign when like the audience is talking over like the headliner or something like that. That's oof.
Yeah.
My number 44, motherfucking Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion, baby. One of the best pop albums ever made. So fucking good. So many bops on that goddamn album. It's fucking rules. Like all the instrumentals on them are all good. Like her voice is beautiful. Like that the fucking opening horns of Runaway With Me, whenever I hear that, I ascend.
That's your ascension? Yeah.
That's one of my ascensions. I have like a lot of ascensions, but like when I hear that horn in particular, I'm like, take me away, sweetie. Just raise me to the heavens with this song. It's so good. Like, I wish I could say more, but because it is a pop album, there's not much there that you can really like pull out of it from an analytical point of view. It's just fucking solid pop music, and it's exactly what you want from solid pop music.
There's something to be said for doing that, right?
Yeah, when you can make like a really good instrumental that doesn't end up getting annoying, when you can make a solid ass chorus that gets stuck in your head and doesn't get annoying, like it is so good.
Gothgash says, that album is perfect. I had a friend tell me to listen to it. I thought she was trolling.
Yeah, there's nothing to analyze. It's just vibes, and that's great.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So you're number 44.
Hey, Doolittle by the Pixies.
Fucking good choice.
Monkey Gone to Heaven. You got Debaser. You got Gouge Away.
Doolittle is maybe one of the perfect like 90s albums.
I think so. I feel like they're one of those bands that like...
Or I guess that technically came out 89.
Yeah.
Whatever. Late 80s, early 90s. Still, whatever.
They're one of those bands that I feel like would have been even more, better known if not for the overshadowing that Nirvana did. But like, they were, I feel, very much on the same level of just like, this is oh yes.
There's such an energy to Doolittle that like, Evie says Debaser is such a banger, but like as soon as that song comes on, you get like just dragged into that song. That song like grabs you by like the shoulders and pulls you into the crowd and is like, no, get in here. We're going slicing up apples. I want you to know. Girl, you're so groovy. I want you. Like, it's so good.
It is.
Like, there's like maybe one song on there that I think is bad or not as interesting.
Which one?
It's Silver, I think, is like is lacking, but like literally everything else is just so fucking good.
This was my introduction to the Pixies when I first heard it, and it's still good to this day. Timeless, wonderful, good album. And that's... You mostly said it, but that's all I have to say for the most part. We're pretty much in agreement on that one.
My number 43 is Purple Rain by Prince.
Hell yeah.
Another fucking solid-ass pop album. one of the best, like, concept albums, one of the best, like, rock opera movies ever made. Fucking Prince, one of the best to ever got. Oh my god, I don't know if you're joking or not, Goth Cash. I don't know. If you have genuinely... Have I seen it recently? I have not, actually. It's been a while since the last time I watched Purple Rain. But, like, Purple Rain is so fucking good. Another one of those albums that, like, just grabs you immediately from the beginning and does not let you go for the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's an hour and a half of Prince singing and hitting women. Oh, woof.
Wow.
I forgot about that part of Purple Rain. Prince, go bathe yourselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. Oh wait, you can't. You're dead. Sorry.
Real quick regarding Pixies, I want to hop back to something Wafidi was saying. Every decade is on a cultural level is actually 3 smaller decades in a trench coat that pretty much always leak out into the beginnings and endings of other decades.
That's fair.
It's real.
Yeah, that is a completely fair point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Purple Rain is so good.
It is.
It's just really good. One of those essential, like, 80s albums that if you have not listened to it, you should listen to it.
Yeah, it's worth a listen. It's one of those things that popped kind of behind me chronologically in musical time, and then someone sat me down and said, no, listen
Like, actually listen to Prince.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of his qualities as a person, like, he made really fucking good music. He has some stinkers. Pussy Control is a very goofy song. He made a lot of goofy things as well, but like the good music he did is really fucking good. So that's my 43, is that.
Good stuff.
Your 43, on the other hand.
Hey, first album by Miss Kitten and the Hacker.
I have no fucking clue what this is.
I feel like I've tried to play this for you before, but I don't know, and I'll have to at another time.
The name of the band sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah,
it's very French, very noir, very. This is an electronic album that I swear to God, it's an album that's in black and white. And that sounds weird and stupid, but if you listen to this album, you'll hear it. You know when you listen to an album and you're getting visuals in your head? This just is like a weird, like, almost sci-fi noir film sort of thing playing out in your head when you're listening to it. I love her just absolute, like, Miss Kitten has such a nonchalant, like, just speaking voice kind of method of lyrics. And it's like listening to someone who really fucking doesn't care with, like, amazing production behind it. This isn't selling it, like, verbally, but I don't really know how to describe this album. It's magical.
I feel like you're
wonderful.
doing a decent job of describing it.
Perhaps. But it's just it's just really, really great. Just techno music. It's wonderful stuff. There's a couple tracks on here like Stock Exchange. It has a Stock Exchange. Trying to think. I think it's like 1982. It's called. But it's there's just like every time I throw this album on, I'm like, oh man, this one. Oh man, this one. Oh man, Frank Sinatra. That's a hell of a song. It's just really, really wonderful stuff. Just beautiful, just deadpan, dark techno, and it's so good.
For sure. Wafidi says, I like this album a lot, but it's kind of set in regards to Purple Rain.
Oh, right.
Because it's a sign of how Prince had zero cultural acumen, how his best album was crafted as part of a multimedia push by WB to make him a huge star instead of purely him. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer when you think of it that way, especially considering how good of an artist Prince was.
Yeah.
That the thing that kind of gets propped up as his best thing was like the labels trying to push him to be a star, and it's like, no, just let the man make the good music that he make.
Let the artist make masterpiece.
Yeah.
Just let them do it.
Alright, moving on to 42.
Your next one.
Here he is again.
Worry
by Jeff Rosenstock. fucking good album. You want to talk about a 2016 album, an album that like pretty succinctly captures a feeling of being in like your 30s and realizing that you do not have your life together.
Yeah.
Like, this is an album that is like a perfect like encapsulation of that feeling. And there's so many good songs on it. It's one of those songs that has like just an amazing flow to it. Like, there are strings of songs that are like, one, very short, and two, flow so well into each other that they just feel like they are one long song. And I think that kind of like ability like is amazing. Like, for a songwriter, especially when you are like just a songwriter, like you're not doing like prog rock or something like that, like making like one of those concept albums where it's like meant to flow into each other, but you're just making an album to still make something that flows as well as Rory does between tracks just shows a real fucking talent and craftsmanship as a songwriter. And I think that that's really the strongest quality of Jeff Rosenstock, is that ability.
Yeah.
It's why he is also gonna be on my list a little bit later, but I'll get to that when I get to that.
Queen of spoilers every time.
I didn't say where he's gonna fall, I just said
fair.
he'll be there again. That's the Chekhov's gun. Speaking of Chekhov's gun, your next album is Nirvana. No, it's not actually.
Hey, it's Electro Glide in Blue by Apollo 440. Very fascinating band, Apollo 440. A lot of people know about them for the fact that they tend to, like, for a time especially, they were making all of the intro tracks to like every soundtrack for like weird like action films. Very accessibly through that realm is where a lot of people find them. For me, it was through different means, and I'll explain that later. But like, this is one of those like really more artistically driven, instrumentally fascinating albums of theirs. It goes in a lot of very different dimensions and speeds and sounds, very jazzy at times, very floaty, kind of heavier in some areas. It's just really, it's what they do best, you know? Very, very good album. Probably one of my very favorites of theirs, and it's just something that I have not stopped listening to for years on end. But it's just a good time. A supersonic kick in the ass to a flowy sort of like happy good time sort of thing, here and there. Some deeper cuts on here. It's emotionally swaying you everywhere. And it does an amazing job of all of it. Good music makers, them. They do good work.
Okay, Gothcash knows some of their stuff.
Yeah, right.
All right, my number...
Some people have heard of what we listen to. I'm glad.
My number 41 is War All the Time by Thursday.
That's not a lot of time to get war done. Like, you want us to prioritize making sure that war is happening constantly by like before the end of the week? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I don't... To be fair, I don't have much to say about this one. This is one of those albums that has a strong emotional connection to me because it's one of those albums I got from my brother. But like, good political post-hardcore album that's very of the time. This one came out like right around 2003 when we were going into, Iraq as a country in the US. So you feel that tension of like a band that is starting to mature. This is like their sophomore album, like not their first one, but their second one.
I know what that means. Yes.
Okay, just one. Not entirely for you, sometimes for other people.
All right.
Do people have a problem with the Iraq War? Well,
Let's not talk about warfare.
People with sense had trouble with that war. I'll stop it there.
Yeah.
But like, it is a good combination of the personal and political, or the personal and the socio-political, where you could tell that they're trying to tackle these issues that were becoming more present to us, like anti-war stuff, like gay rights, things like that, like, but also dealing with the personal things like the alienation of being a part of like the 9-to-5 like workforce.
Yeah.
Like, it all like comes together in a package that I still think is like super fucking solid.
Nice.
Like, I don't think it has aged very much at all. It is a great album, and I love it very, very much,
cool.
even to this day.
I'm gonna grab some water. Make
That's
sure we're
a
up to
good
date on
idea.
chat while I...
They had our oil though, Bree.
It wasn't ours.
That's what you say. America disagrees. Also explored in the Huey Lewis classic, Workin' for a Livin'. Alright. Oh wait, no. I'm not gonna scroll to mine. Your 41 is next before my 41.
Your 41 can wait. Oh, this is a fun one to talk about. Oh my goodness. Hold on.
I saw various artists and I was like, oh boy. What?
Yeah. Okay, this is by far a compilation of probably some of the finest turntablism I've ever heard. It was definitely my intro into it after hearing like the tiniest bit of like DJ Qbert and stuff like that, where I learned, hey, the record scratch make wiki wiki sound. That's really cool. And the DJing in this and some of the ways that like record scratching is just used as like a percussion instrument, the many varying different ways that DJing can sound, just this is basically, for the most part, just lyricless, like just electronic music, and just there's so many artists on here. There's so much going on and just so many beautiful sounds. It's one of those albums that the first time I got this album when I was like a kid, I was just like, the way I picked out albums was I was like, this looks cool, let me listen to this. And that usually brought me good music. And this was just, the more I listened to it, even to this day, the more, especially because over time I learned more about the production of music and like how certain things are done and how sounds are made. And, as I got to learn how DJing worked, it got even more fascinating to me. It's just one of those things that like every time, it's a road trip album for one thing. I used to live in Arizona, so whenever I would go out to see people in California, that desert drive, this was this had to happen. This was always on that listening list. Just a wonderful album to lose yourself in.
For sure. I was laughing at some of the jokes happening in chat. Pooch said, imagining someone putting Now That's What I Call Yacht Music Volume 1 on their top 100s, and Goth following that up with Kids Bop 41 is my number 4 album.
I'm gonna have to explain my number 2 album. There's gonna be some angry people.
My number 40 is Drunk by Thundercat. Kind of in the same vein as Marnie A. Stern, where like someone's just instrumental skills are both so impressive and so unique in such a way that's actually like interesting and not just like worksmanship. Like you can tell it, like we were talking about with someone like a Buckethead or like other guitar like virtuoso type people where you're just kind of like, damn, you play the thing very fast. Like, you listen to the shit that Thundercat does on the bass, and you're like, God, that just sounds good. And then you get to like some of the more down tempo tracks, like something like Them Changes, and you're like, oh, but also you can just pull it back and like still show how good you are at what you do, but just keep it very low key in your track, and then also just have completely fucking ridiculous songs.
Yes.
Like something like Captain Stupido or Tokyo.
Yeah.
Which are basically joke songs.
And they are incredible joke songs.
They are so funny. Like when
He's a hilarious man.
When you listen to Tokyo by Thundercat, if you don't laugh, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
Something died inside you. Like
you're just listening to fucking weeaboo go off about all the dumb shit he's gonna do when he finally visits Japan.
Yeah,
and
it's so good.
It's really good. So that's the thing, Gothcash. Like some of his songs are jokes, but he does also, in fact, write actual songs.
Yeah, and those are incredible.
No, yeah, like the actual songs that he does are also very, very good.
Yes.
Like, if you have not listened to Drunk, you should listen to Drunk.
It's an amazing album.
It's a very, very good album. But yeah, I know it comes up later because I've accidentally caught a peek at some of yours. So if you have more that you want to say about it, you can hold back on that for now.
All right. If I'm being honest, I didn't have much more than that. We basically covered the bases.
Then your number 40 is
Robot by Caravan Palace. Uh-oh, spoilers. But yeah, Robot by Caravan Palace. Here's an interesting one for me.
Uh-huh.
What?
Nothing. Continue. This is like what... You make a lot of jokes about me judging, like, the penis music you listen to.
Yeah.
Like, Caravan Palace and that, like, that genre of music is, like, one of the only ones that I actually kind of get a little bit judgy about, but that's about it.
So apparently, so Jay can't handle electro swing, apparently.
Never mind. I'm not gonna bring you down.
Let me talk about my music.
You talk about your music.
For anyone who's heard most of their work...
I am listening respectfully.
For anyone who's heard most of their work, traditionally, probably their earlier stuff, this was kind of the transitional album between, like, a lot of that sound and a lot of the stuff they did on the album that came out more recently with Miracle on it, which, my god, they owned this genre and took it to a whole new world with that. But this was kind of that middle ground wherein they were finding this, like, new, more electronic style, like, version of stuff that verges out of the swing in a very bizarre way, and I really, really loved it. It was... The album I was listening to, I have it's again one of the albums I have a physical copy of. It is something that I listen to a lot, quite prominently because I guess it came out a little bit before I started transitioning in, like, you know, hormone therapy and stuff. Yeah. So basically I was doing my first, like, muscular injection shot to, like, listening to this album. So it really has that kind of the time in my life moment sort of area to it. It's very dreamy and bizarre and a little bit more low tempo for them, and I really love what happens in it. It's just uniquely bizarre, and it was an album that also kind of had to grow on me to some degree. Mm-hmm. But it's splendid stuff. It's just probably one of my favorite because it was that middle ground between some sounds they've done. I feel like a lot of interesting stuff happens when an artist seems to be between those two things, and I love it. It's good. Okay. It's a good time.
For sure. Owen asks, have you gotten to Dare to Be Stupid yet?
There's no Weird Al on my thing.
That's the joke, is you don't have any Weird Al on your thing, and he's gonna keep teasing you about you not...
Until we get to my number one album.
And it's Weird Al.
It's not Weird Al.
No.
It might be Weird Al. It's not.
My number 39 is The Woods by Sleater Kenny. What a fucking... I was listening to that one earlier today. How many albums have I started out by saying, like, oh, what a great fucking...
Bracket these guys make. They make music that'll save the world.
Nah.
Yeah.
But, like, The Woods is so fucking good. Like, Sleater Kenny before The Woods did, like, a lot of pretty standard, like, girl punk stuff. Like, the type of thing that you would expect to hear, like, from bands that were coming out of, like, the Riot Girl phase and, like, kind of maturing as audiences, like, actually learning how to play their instruments, you know, because Riot Girl was very much, like, more of an kind of like art cultural movement as opposed to like a musical genre. Like it was a lot of just women screaming into microphones while their friends were like just making noise on the guitars.
It's a beautiful time.
No, yeah, it's great. Nothing against Riot Girl. Bless it, in fact. But like The Woods is just has such a good heavy sound to some of the songs on it. Like lyrically, a lot of the content in some of those songs are like extremely evocative. Like there's a song called Jumpers that is essentially about, it's content warning of suicide. It's about this people, jumpers.
Yeah,
kind of guess
the train.
It's the image of someone like jumping off of like a bridge, like the Golden Gate Bridge. Like Entertain is like this really fucking brutal takedown of like that retro garage rock revival that was happening in like the mid 2000s, where it was just kind of recycling that same shit, but putting like a glossier image on it. Just them very much being like, get the fuck out of here with this shit, like pretentious assholes.
12-year-olds show up, say, look, I got a tattoo.
Yeah,
get out of here.
But like it's so good. Like it's really, really great. I love The Woods a whole bunch.
Right on.
Yeah, and Entertain is like one of my favorite songs, I think, of all time. It is high up there.
I thought it was about Jumpman, the Super Mario himself. Yeah.
And then...
Well, that explains the song Yoshi drop on here, but...
Also, Godcash, I'm glad that Sleater Kinney is still awesome live. I haven't gotten the chance to see them myself, but I hope to at some point.
Yeah. Alright, what's my 39?
I thought it was a Third Eye Blind cover. No. I wish you would get back from that ledge, my friend. Alright, your 39 is...
Hey, Sweet Genesis by Netaroom. Very much only the length of an EP, but probably some of... This is kind of a newer artist that I've started leaning into. I don't really know much of anything about them, like as a person or as an artist, but I've loved a lot of the singles that I've seen popping up from them. They've been in their music has been in a lot of the projects and stuff that I enjoy, and they're just insane, like high energy hyper pop. Just really, I'm trying to think even how to describe it, but just instrumental electronic music that has like a million glittery fancy rainbows going on at like a million BPM. But really just a powerhouse.
That's too fast. If something is going, if something is going a million BPM, that song is over in like 1 second.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it is just really, really good stuff. And this is just kind of like the central network of like what most of their stuff sounds like. This is a perfect encapsulation of that. And it's really great stuff. I also like their song Dog Bus, but that's a single. It's not on an album.
Owen is just gonna pretend like you're talking about Weird Al albums at this point now.
Fine. But yeah, fascinating artist though. Really, really fun stuff to listen to. Really high energy. Really, really good. It's like I'm eating sugar candy and playing DDR again.
Sure,
that's what it feels like.
Sounds good.
I never really stopped playing DDR. It's just not around me. I don't have access to it.
Third Eye Blind made my favorite song about meth, says Godcash. I don't think I know that one. My number 38, it's Bright Eyes again.
Hey!
With the album I'm Wide Awake It's Morning. Great little folk album. A lot of great like little catchy songs on it. Really well instrumentalized. Instrumentalized, I guess. I like
the way they instrumentaled that.
I went to college for music. But it has a soft like composition to it where like there's like lush moments on it, but the lushness, it always has a really like strong like delicacy to it, where even the heights of that album usually don't feel like they're the way that we usually describe like the heights of albums are like hitting you, pushing you.
Yeah, like feeling something
Yeah.
visceral.
But it's more of like a swell, like it's something inside of you, like kind of coming out. And I think that that's kind of what this album excels best at, especially when you get to like the song that everyone knows from it, which is First Day of My Life, which is like a super evocative song about finding someone that you think that at the very least you think is like the person that is going to be the one that's with you for the rest of your life. Like, the type of thing where like very heartwarming, like tugging at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
But also because there is that like level of uncertainty to it. It's not 100% like, it's not 100% happy. It's not like a song that's just like, yeah, you're my true love. I'm gonna be with you forever. But it's
Sure.
There's like a bittersweet quality, swelling quality to it, and I think that's what the emotion that it excels the most at. Also, hi Sass.
Hello.
How much flaccid pancake has shown up? No, I don't mean like the Happy Happy Joy Joy song. I am in fact talking about actual music and not something that was written by a guy that is
A myriad of things from what I've heard. Yeah.
Anyways,
Any hoozles?
you're 38.
Hey, Copper by Blue Stolly. Here's the thing, a lot of people, me included, have found out about this guy actually through like a lot of the projects that Clayton, aka Cell Dweller, Scandroid, etc.
Can I jump in with a comment from Gothgash?
Sure.
He says, I've tried drunkenly singing Lover I Don't Want to Love way too many times and everyone thought I was straight. Ha! Got him!
But yeah, like this album. Well, I'm sorry, I got behind myself here.
Yeah, my apologies.
For sure.
That's
But, you know, Scandroid, Cell Dweller, everything that, like, Clayton's behind, like, you usually find this guy through him. Like, he's on the same general collection of artists. So same label. I didn't fully click with a lot of his work. It seemed a little too... saying too accessible is the douchiest thing I could say as a music appreciator, but I think that, like... This album, you know, was such a different thing for him, was such a more, you know, like gripping you in an emotional way. It's just really, really great. And while I love the tracks that are, you know, I love the lyrics a whole lot better in this album, I also, please stop looking at...
I'm sorry, I can't stop looking at Chad. People are having a fight about Limp Bizkit versus Weird Al, and... It's hard to see that and not laugh. You can continue. Just know that I'm going to be giggling at that.
But, you know, it's one of those kind of departures from his traditional work that, like, really, really gripped me in a fantastic way. And I think it's probably my favorite album of his. This is good stuff. This is peak Blue Stolly. Way to go, dude. You make good music. He uses a tracker. He's a proper dork. I love his stuff. He's also very funny. He's a great personality and just like video and, you know, wherever you can find him talking. He's just an absolute nerd.
I realize
Lovable dude.
you're kind of covered up by Chad a little bit. You can scoot a little bit over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was the other thing I noticed while
But like I said,
left arm reveal.
I fixed it. So, but yeah, other than like, you know, just really loving more so than his other work, the lyrics in this, the non-lyric tracks are the ones that really grip me. Those are, it's all just so good.
Yeah.
It's a solid album that you can front to back and really take it all in.
Okay. My 37, I'm pretty sure I remember which one this is. Yep. It is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. It is the album of your parents' divorce. God, I listened to this album via my parents growing up as a kid. They did not divorce until like until I was much more of an adult. But like we listened to that album so much. Like I have at the very least the first half of that album like memorized by heart.
Wow.
Like, and it's really fucking good. Like, it's so good. But like, again, yeah, because it's the album that is associated with my parents. It's funny that Rumors is like, when I hear people talk about like one of the most like fraught album productions like of a major band like in pop culture history, like the members of that band were fucking tearing each other apart.
Sometimes that makes great music for some reason.
Yeah, it's completely bizarre.
Yeah.
So like when those things so like coincidentally like kind of mesh up that like I have a heavy association with like my parents and you know the divorce that they had, and then like this band that had like a bunch of fucking problems going on in the production of it, and also the album itself is really good. It is another one of those ones that's like, this is maybe one of the best pop albums ever made. Like, it is just every single song on there. I think it was Evie who said it. But, yeah, Evie says, Rumors is pretty unfuckwithable. And, like, yeah, like, you can never break the chain.
Yeah.
That song comes on and you're like, damn, yeah, you can never break the chain.
It can't be broken.
And no, Sass, it is not like Alf. We're talking about music here.
Elf the Musical.
Rumors is excellent, nearly good enough to be a Weird Al album, says Owen. I'm going to spend so much time here and I will do everything I can to become a mod. Then I will spread rumors about you to get demodded so I can ban you from .com. Owen started a joke about me killing dogs, so it's gonna take a lot to get him taken off the mod team, unfortunately.
What a bizarrely heartwarming person you are, Owen, that you've gotten away on here with everything that you have. We know it's coming from a good place.
I didn't start it. I just ran with it after you killed the dog. I didn't.
Like you ran away when you... Okay, no.
Anyways, Breeze number 37 is some fucking Scandroid cell dweller shit again.
It's fucking Scandroid, yes it is. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't so much vibe with the second album.
Oh, I love this Weird Al album.
I didn't as much vibe with the second album. This one, though, is incredible. In fact, for being the cybernetic Jesus story that it is, it's freaking incredible. It is basically just like...
It is just a cybernetic Jesus. Was I the one who told that to you?
No, I mean, like, I was aware.
You're
like,
aware.
There's a lot of, like, you know, like, biblical imagery in this, but it's about cyborgs and shit and the internet. So, it's just really, really fantastic. The production on this is fucking incredible. Every time I hear... like half of the songs on this album start playing, my brain activates and everything is like...
We got a poll in the chat right now.
What is it?
Weird Al or Limp Bizkit?
Hearing you say it in that voice. But yeah, no, it is just, it's one of the finest, like, just for its kind of music, it's one of the finest, like, just new 80s wave, like, just the production, the production is incredible. It sounds amazing. And just it's really, really good. It's wonderful stuff. If you're new to any of Clayton's work, it's a great place to start.
Weird Al really took it to the next level when he cybernetically implanted the accordion into his arm, says Edie. And Gothgash says, Scandroid are those test forms with the bubbles you fill in, right?
Yeah, that's the one. But no, yeah, this was also the album that led me to the rest of his work, which led me to Cell Dweller. And I have it to thank for that, too.
Gotcha. Here comes the cyberfunker.
Alright, what's
My
yours?
number 36 is Home Like No Place Is There by The Hotelier. album that I got introduced to by our dear friend Micah.
Yes.
One time we were hanging out with her and her partner, and she brought up like the last track on this song on this album, Dendron.
I think so.
I believe is the pronunciation of it.
Dendron? Yeah.
And it was one of those songs that is so fucking emotionally raw as a piece of music that I immediately had to be like, I need to get this album.
Yeah.
And she was kind enough to be like, oh, I have an extra copy of this on vinyl. Do you want it? And I was like,
so we have it on vinyl.
I was like, sure, yeah. It's really good. Like, the whole album is like that, and it's a solid piece of, like, emo pop punk that, like, it's not just that there are, like, good choruses or it's good composition, but, like, you listen to, like, the lyrics on there, you listen to, like, the way that the singer sings on there. Like, it's an album that feels like an open wound.
Yeah.
Like, it at parts hurts to listen to. You're just like, God, they've gone through some shit in their life.
Yeah.
And I feel that. So it is a good ass time. So I highly recommend it if you have not listened to it. Your number 36 is wow, alright. I wasn't expecting this on your list. So, what do you have to say about this album?
So, here's a hot take. Perfume, I didn't know about them until knowing about Capsule, and was later introduced to Perfume by our friend who said they were so tired of people knowing about Perfume and then ignoring how great Capsule is because, oh, Perfume is so great. Hilariously, this was the album that converted me to thinking that Perfume was the better of those projects. And golly, I believe it was because like I'd heard a couple of the songs on this. It's a compilation, right?
Yes.
So like
it's a compilation.
Yeah, and like so you showed me like because I knew already of some of their work that had these songs on it, but like none of the albums.
I think literally before I listened to this album as part of constructing my list, you had like kind of offhandedly mentioned like I tried listening to Perfume. It didn't really do much for me.
Well, I mean, like Game was a good album, but like there were a lot of spots. There were a lot of holes. This is just some of the best stuff that they've done all into one complete collection, wherein it's like the vibe that is contained within the entirety of this album.
The absolute vibes.
The absolute vibes of this album. It's just, yeah, I love this. I love everything about this, and this is just incredible. So it's like, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. And it's just amazing stuff. Really wonderful electronic music. A lot of making the synth go brr. So, good stuff.
I'll talk about it more later.
It's one of the edgiest and prettiest magical girl transformations you've ever heard.
Like I have more to say about it, but it's quite high on my list.
It might come up again.
Yeah. My number 35 is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
Synth go burr.
Fucking... I've been listening to this album a lot this last week for this stream, just to like refresh myself on it, and God, it's real fucking good. It's one of those albums that's like a little bit backloaded. Like, I think some of the best songs on it are more towards the end as opposed to towards the front, but it's still real good, and I do not feel like I am qualified to talk about it very much as a white woman.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like... How do I address this?
Like, there's definitely some universal ideas in it that, like, can be talked about. Like, you know, we definitely live in a society where people as a whole are, like, kind of taught not really to, like, love or care about ourselves. Like, you get into with a song like that song, like, kind of very much taps into a universal feeling of, like, everything around us just kind of teaches us to fucking hate ourselves.
Yeah.
But, like, just standing up in adversity to it. I liked it better than Good Kid, but still not wild about it. I know that everyone loves both. Yeah, that's the thing. Good Kid is also going to be on my list a little bit higher. So it's okay.
Jay with the spoilers today.
It's fine.
Yeah,
We're starting to get to the part where everything is getting whittled down.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. He gets away.
No, Sass, it's not written by the Joker.
No.
We very much live in a society. We do live in a society.
I was wondering what
None of you can deny that.
I was wondering what album that phrase was going to come out of us, and I'm glad it's finally happened.
But yeah, you get into that. There's songs like Mortal Man, where despite it definitely being more of a like, there are like aspects of this that I cannot talk about as a white woman because I'm just not in that community.
Yeah.
But like there's also aspects of it that like are about, it feels like a conversation at times about pop cultural figures. Like when Kendrick Lamar like made that song, you could tell more of what it's about is kind of the way that a lot of like black figures in pop culture get abandoned when like controversies happen around them.
Yeah.
However, because of everything that is like kind of conspired in the last 5 years, things like Me Too, etc., 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 now it feels more like a conversation as opposed to that. Like, he's asking all these questions to you as the audience, and instead of it feeling like he's more like demanding this loyalty of you, it feels more like you're actually being posed these questions like, Michael Jackson, do you think he touched those kids? Like, do you feel that like strong of a connection to an artist that you are in fact going to stick with them even if these kinds of things come out about them? Like, and I think that as an idea is still interesting and relevant, even if it like hasn't aged in probably the way that he intended it to age as an artist. And another part of the reason why I think it rings even more so as like a conversation piece now is like literally the end of Mortal Man, the track that I'm talking about, ends with him like having a fake conversation with Tupac Shakur about like the legacy of Tupac's music and like Kendrick trying to like carry on that legacy in rap. And you get to the end of it and like Kendrick like lays this all out to Tupac, and like he's like Pac, like expecting a response, but no, this person is actually dead. The artist is dead. Death of the author. Like, I don't know how intentional that actually was on the part of Lamar, but I think that now with a lot more like years of separation from the original release of this album to today, it's more interesting now. So it's a good album. This poll is bullshit. Weird Al has won the poll.
Wow. That's a hot take.
Photoshop that Jay into that shot from Joker so she's dancing on the stairs. Bomb. There you go. No, don't ban Golf Gash.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do that.
That's not okay.
They're nice. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you as the person that runs this channel, don't do that. Dominion rigged it. Okay, anyways, I talked for a very long time about that album.
Yeah, you had something to say about that album.
I had been thinking about it a lot.
This is not as artistically relevant as that album. But Sounds of Tokyo To Future 2 by Mello. Here's the... Sorry.
Too Mellow, please.
Sounds of Tokyo To Future.
While you're talking about that, I'm gonna fill up water.
For sure. Too Mellow made, like, initially, the... I'm trying to remember what the exact name of it was, but the other kind of, like, Jet Set Radio slanted album to kind of evoke the feeling of that video game. Very much a big fan of the soundtrack of that, you know, everything from Hideki Naganuma to everything that wasn't him, which are harder cuts to find traditionally. You know, but just trying to evoke kind of the feeling of the general aesthetic in sound and in appearance of everything, you know, in that game, in the spirit of that. And I think they did wonderful work, and whereas I've tried to re-listen to one, it didn't really grip me. This one was just really, really solid. I'm a real big fan of this one. I feel like this encapsulates the general feel of that game a whole lot better, and just there's a lot of really good tracks on it.
Yeah.
It really bumps, and it's really wonderful.
For sure.
And it's a good time if you
also,
haven't
thank
heard
you for
it.
drawing by, Sass. Have fun with the dark stream. We will probably raid later. Let's see.
But yeah, what's the next one here?
My 34 is
Hey.
Toxicity by System of a Down. Damn good new metal album.
Yeah.
One of the best. One of the best to ever do it. Another one of those albums that is damn near perfect, in my opinion. I know we've talked about it a little bit. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more when you get to yours, but so good.
Yeah.
Like, just a lot of songs that have a strong drive to them. You get to songs like X, Jet Pilot, fucking the self-titled song on the album is so good. Like, it's the best parts of System of a Down with the little goofy bits that I don't like as much, interspersed just enough to give it character, but not drag it down.
Yeah.
Kind of like, what is it? Mesmerize, Hypnotize?
Yeah.
Kind of does.
You
Or
did
they're-
mention that suffers the double album issue, where it's like, if they just took everything that's good on this, it could have made one really good album.
Yeah.
And there was just so much filler. Also, Squeaky did a few more tracks on that one with the lyrics, and it's just like...
Yeah, Darian is not a great songwriter.
Writer or singer, you know.
As Scars on Broadway went on to prove.
Yeah.
That failed side project.
You really knew who was putting a lot of the work into it when you heard, like, when Serge Tankian went off to do solo stuff and it just sounded like more System of a Down. It was like, okay, we know who's been pulling the strings here, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so it's, but yeah, you know, it's really a very, very good album.
Is it Toxicity or Toxicity?
Welcome to Toxicity.
No, you don't want to live in Toxicity.
No.
Your time in that city will not last long.
Yeah.
Your next album is Haru Otsuya by Harunemuri.
Yes.
Which is,
How did I find out about this? Was that through Courtney?
that was through Courtney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like...
Make More Noise was the song that Courtney showed us.
Oh, yeah. This is just a...
I don't like the second song
Yeah.
that I can't remember the name of.
This is kind of, I'm trying to think like another artist this is kind of tangential of. Like, this has almost like Perfume vibes at some points.
Well, that's the interesting
like,
thing
it's-
about Harunemuri as a
Yeah.
band. They're one of those ones, like, the equivalent that I would draw more for them is, like, Midori. They're never as hard-edged as Midori, but the swings that they take from going to, like, very poppy stuff to more, like, kind of
like punky stuff.
Punky stuff is definitely there.
The
It's
merging
just-
of that and the electronic elements of it are just enrapturing. It's one of those albums that I can like forget about, throw on, and go, why have I not been listening to this constantly?
Yeah.
But just really, again, a very good lyricist, a lot of range, a lot of just wonderful production in it.
Let's see this Photoshop of me. You get what you fucking deserve. Here's my #1 album.
save that.
That's real good. Thanks, Owen.
We're saving that image. That's
Yeah,
good.
I'm keeping that open in another tab.
Oh,
That's real good.
okay. But yeah.
Do you have anything to go from off that?
Where do I go from here? No, yeah, but like punky, electronic, beautiful production, wonderful album.
Alright, my number 33 is...
Actually, while you're doing that, I'm gonna use the restroom.
Okay,
Go ahead.
my number 3 is an incredibly depressing album called Hospice by the Antlers, which is essentially a concept album about, like, falling in love with, like, a patient dying in a hospice. And it's very evocative of that mood, and it's, if you're looking for that kind of album, it's fucking phenomenal for that kind of music. I don't got much else to say about it. It's really, really good. But I do have to buy a little bit of time until Bree comes back, so I guess I'll highlight a few tracks on there. 2 is a really good song. Bear is like the most accessible. Oh wait, no, 2 is the most accessible. Shit, I'm trying to remember which one is which. That speaks a lot to how much I like the album, that I can't tell 2 of my favorite songs on there apart from each other. But it's really messing me up. By the way, I'm fairly certain you either have the same model or brand of my oven, because it just looks the same. Wait, what are you talking about? Oh, oven? You talking about the oven back there? I mean, it's possible. I've never talked to the groundskeeper or like the landlord about the exact oven. I just know that we got one in the place, and I appreciate that. But yeah, Wake is one of those songs that just tears your heart out, but is also a very uplifting song. So I highly recommend Hospice by the Antlers. And here comes Bree as I continue to take my time and delay until... For a moment, I thought whatever playlist you loaded went into a piano cover of Ballerina Girl by Lionel Richie. No, it's like a mix of just Animal Crossing music.
Hello?
Alright, now it's your 33.
Hey, Hold Your Color by Pendulum.
Ah, it's the man that make the drum go...
One of the finest to do it. Here's the thing. Please stop. Oh my goodness. I'm not allowed to talk about the things I like.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Here's the thing, like, no real drum and bass ever captured me, captured my imagination or my listening habits until this album. This one in particular, Hold Your Color by Pendulum, got me into Pendulum as a whole. I overheard this because I used to have an art collective where we would all work on whatever we were like designing, working on with a bunch of friends, and someone was playing this album and I was like, what is this? I need to know what this is. It's incredible. I've never heard anything like it. And some of the finest in drum and bass music. I mean, like, I love especially that it is fairly lyrically driven, most of their stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, they've got a lot of features, they've got a lot of people on there for the most part throughout their albums. They do have that occasionally, but just they're a fascinatingly amazing band. It's music to wake you up in the morning, to drive you where you're going, to just... It's just energetic and happy and exciting and makes your cells continue to divide and make you want to keep living. It's just something that really, for the music it was, hit me in a very special place, and they continue to with all the music that they make. But this is a good, like, range of a lot of their sound and a lot of their the more kind of like proto end of their stuff where there was a little more minimalism in it, and I kind of love that. But like everything that they've done has been wonderful, and this is one of the albums that really sits well with me, so
for sure.
There it is.
Alright then up next is my 32, which is No Kill No Beat Beat by Q and Not You, which is nice little, another one of those post-hardcore albums that I got from my brother in like the mid to early 2000s, like really fucking good mathy angular riffs on it. A lot of interesting like I thought you said no kill, no PP. No, you almost made Bree spit take and would have gone directly into the computer. You can't just say things like that.
Oh, go ahead.
My friend just called me, told me to hold on immediately, and explained to his 4-year-old son why he needs to wash his butt. Sometimes I'm glad it... And again, almost made Bree spit take. Apparently, all you need to do to make Bree laugh very hard is mention pee-pee or washing your butt.
That's one of those things that's like, for people who have kids, this is that level of absurdity that you feel like you'll never have to explain to a human being.
Hey, Bree.
Yeah?
Drink some water.
No. Ah! I shouldn't be holding this. I'm putting this away. It almost just caught on my hand. I keep from spit taking twice and then fry the motherboard. Done. Can you imagine? Oh my god.
Alright.
Okay.
Well, I can't really talk about this album now after that.
No,
it's good. It's a really good, like, post-hardcore math rock album. Like, a lot of really interesting rhythmic ideas on it. A lot of really great angular guitars on it. You should listen to it if you can give that kind of stuff a shot. It's fantastic. If the stream ended with you throwing water on your PC, I'd stand up and clap. Unless one of y'all is gonna give us like $1,500 to replace the computer, I would probably cry.
I can't believe I married someone who mentally is still in middle schooler. No, here's the thing. We outdo each other at times.
That's true.
Like, we have... here's the thing.
We'll be eating off of the children's menu at anniversary dinner.
Listen. First of all, there's no kids allowed at the time that I, like, made the reservation at that place. Second of all, we're both guilty of it.
That's true.
We've ruminated greatly on the fact that, like, immature humor takes, like, a loop. It goes from, haha, funny because I'm 6, and then it's like, please, I am too mature to laugh at something so stupid and dumb. And then it comes back around when you're, like, later in adulthood, where it's like the sheer absurdity of how stupid and dumb and not funny it is what makes it funny. It is that, like, dumb humor becomes its own kind of, like, just absurdist thing. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean,
says complimentary crayons for Madame. And Evie says, your finest nuggies, please.
Please.
Anyways, here's your number 32. It's Malibu Can.
Please, it's like, listen, please. I eat chicky fingies. Okay, I'm an intellectual.
We gotta get through this list.
Okay,
we got a dinner to get to later.
Malibu Ken is an incredible album. It is the amalgamation of the Project Tobacco, which came up in my previous 50, and his working with a guy named Aesop Rock, who, for the life of him, he's a white rapper. There was a time in my life that I got into him a little bit and then kind of, like, immediately fell out of him later. But when he does stuff with him, and there's a track called Dirt on Fucked Up Friends, the Tobacco album, where he has him on, and it's so good. It is like this bump in that album that just like, oh shit, what is this? This is incredible. We weren't the only ones who felt this way, because basically enough people, I guess, said how great would it be if you did an album together. They formed Malibu Ken. They released this album. That guy has such a wobbly fucking way of rapping, and this guy's very bizarre way of producing meshes with it so freaking well, and it's like a whole album of that song. It's just really, really something magical and something weird that happened out of just the weird... I'm trying to think how I would phrase this. It's something that came of that toying around with it that just became its own entire thing. And I, for one, think that it's incredible. I think that these two artists do amazing work together, more so than at least one of them does anything at all.
Game streams, relative harmony, music streams, open warfare between chat and hosts.
Pretty much.
Alright,
But
my
yeah, that's a good
31 is Knife Play by
Hey.
Shushu. Good, great noise album. If you want to listen to just some nice fucked up music that makes you feel bad,
Yep.
listen to Knife Play by Shushu. Just the singer's voice on there, he has a very evocative voice that like ranges all over the place, where like it's not a great singing voice, but it conveys exactly what you need it to for the kind of fucked up noises that the band as a whole makes.
Yeah.
And like, you've listened to it a few times as a result of me listening to it.
I only
around.
knew of Clown Town. I only knew of that song from like a compilation.
I Love Abortion.
Yeah, it's a real. I was gonna say that's like a real kind of descent from that. It's a real kind of different end of the spectrum. But no, like Clown Town's also a very depressing song. But like just very. It's a visceral artist. Very much so.
Yes, that is a good way of describing it. Shushu is an extremely visceral artist.
Yeah.
Like, even something like Knife Play, which I feel is like a fairly approachable album. Like, the noise elements in it aren't too harsh, and there's enough of actual like structure to the like songwriting of it that like there are some songs where there's actually a chorus that you can sing along to, but like it still is it feels bad.
Yeah.
And it's great, and I love that. So that's Knife Play by Shushu.
Wow.
And there's Linkin Park.
Here's where I have some explaining to do. My God, when I was but a sad little, gosh, this would have been between like 12 and 13, 14 that I discovered this band. You know, when you're just starting to become an existential depressed person. I was depressed before it was cool. Very, very young. I had a lot of problems, and I still do. But this, for everything that people say about, especially when 90s music hit, and they were like, oh yeah, people say making sad music, making teenagers sad is like shooting fish in a barrel. Here's where people who make good kind of emotional music are people who have severe mental disorders and usually end up killing themselves. One of which was the vocalist Chester, that fine fellow we all know, who, in a weird way, it was almost cathartic when I heard that he had passed, because I was like, so he wasn't bullshitting us, right? Like, you can hear when this guy sings, you can hear from his lyrics and just the general feel of these songs, like, that his end in that band, the things he was singing had weight behind them. He meant what he said,
Like, I re-listened to that. I knew you were going to have this one on your list, and I re-listened to it for, like, the first time, probably since I was, like, in high school.
Yeah.
Like, just the other night. And although, as a whole, it doesn't stick with me the way that it used to, the songs on it that, like, not just the ones that were hits, like something like Faint. Faint is a good song, but like there are just like songs on that album where you feel that shit. Like,
Easier to Run,
not...
I think, is probably a track that stuck with me from a very young age, where it's just like, God, my heart. This is a man who means what he's saying. Like, these feelings are very relatable to people with severe depressive disorders.
Yeah,
like, these are things we've, I think, all felt, and just so many different tracks on here. This one really... This is probably my favorite, like, regular, just, like, album by them. And that's weird to say, because Hybrid Theory was, like, a really good album. And I had to fight with myself over which one to put in this position. I was like, what do I do with this? But this was the one that I think was more... that stuck with me more. The one that I still listen to a whole lot more often. And it was one of those albums that just defined nu metal. That just was one of those things that's like, how do you hold up to this? How do you make something that's like this?
Yeah.
In that genre, it was just an amazing album, and it still is.
For sure.
But it was very emotionally tied to me.
Yeah, it's a good album. I'll say that much of it.
Yeah.
Having re-listened to it, it's good.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, I couldn't pick Hybrid
Theory over Meteora.
Faint stuck with me in particular because it was like my inner rage that I couldn't let out because I was struggling with a lot of things alone and couldn't talk about. It was cathartic.
I feel that. That was the same.
We'll get
totally
into
get that.
a cathartic album later on.
On your end?
On both of our ends. You know which one I'm talking
Oh,
about.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here it is again.
Hey.
My number 30 is Doolittle by Pixies. I mean, I don't feel like I have much else to say about it.
We both pretty much
aside
covered
from
it.
what I said. It is a fucking captivating album that just has a undeniable energy that pulls you in from start to finish.
Yeah.
Even the small little dips in it that aren't as good as the high points do not stop the momentum there.
Mm-hmm.
There's songs like Hey is such a like eternal bop of a song. Like it doesn't have like the same drive that something like Debaser has, but Hey is one of those ones I would consider like a top 20 favorite song of all time, where you feel it. You feel it in your chest when that song comes on, and you just want to scream along with it as it's playing. Like a lot of songs on Doolittle are like that, but Hey is like the one that really gets me every single time it comes on.
Wow.
So that was the main thing I wanted to talk about there. In addition, is just highlight Hey, because I like it a lot. Oh my god. Here's your number.
Here's where
30.
I have some explaining to do.
Alright, I'll see y'all later.
I put this here because I could not put Europop here in all good consciousness. Even now I'm looking at this and going, really, Brie? Really? Are you sure? You sure this didn't just get lost while you were like working on everything between like 30 to 40 on your list? And the answer is maybe. However, this is probably my favorite album by these guys. You may know them as I make the blue guy with the blue world and the blue car song. That's not this album. This album was honestly, if not before its time, it was very much one of those things where European pop music was starting to hit like that. Just really driving, really more like the modern electronic music that came after it sort of feel. I did an entire video on these guys when I was doing the YouTube videos on music and hits and stuff, and this is just the best thing that they've ever done. It is them. I'm not gonna hide this behind anything. It is repetitive, it is exactly what you'd expect of them, and something in there just gets into like my younger listening habits, just the tendrils of like everything that I just really sunk into, that I really just played over and over again. This hits me in such a place historically, and I apologize for nothing. I love this album to death.
This album is the kids' menu. You rate this higher than Doolittle. I'm shooketh.
No,
says Gopgash.
like I said, I'm not sure if its position was well thought out.
Owen says, this is how I know Weird Al is number 1.
Number 2 may shock you. Anywho.
Oh man. Who doggy.
I showed up to the 8th grade with a Barney backpack with this one, but listen, it's fine.
This is my wife, everyone. Happy anniversary.
She has to sleep with me.
Alright,
Okay.
number 29 from me is
Something good.
The Lyle Land by World's End Girlfriend, which is
This is a fine one.
yeah, it's a like nice, dark, moody, like post-rock album.
Sure.
A lot of great production on it, a lot of super evocative songs on it. unfortunately, because it is like an instrumental thing, I don't have much that I can say about it. It was my first World's End Girlfriend album, so I definitely have like a very strong emotional connection to it because of that. But even listening back to it now, it's still the one that like sticks the most with me. It has the stronger mood to it. Like Heartbreak Wonderland is the one that a lot of people point to as probably their best album, but this one just it feels like it has more of a proper personality to it. Like it's a bit of a dark, like edgy, like edgelord like kind of personality to it, but I think that makes it more interesting.
Sure.
Because of that. That album art is great, especially in juxtaposition to the other one on screen.
You can just... You want to enhance?
Move them a little bit closer to each other.
No, don't let them touch. We'll cause a nuclear reaction. The world will blow up.
We get it. You're European.
They're very European.
It looked like a fighting game match starts screaming.
Maybe that's what I love about them. Maybe that's what it is. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, I love them so much.
Alright, let's get them off the screen so we stop getting distracted by them.
You delete the image.
Here's number 29. It's Saint Dimp.
Hell yeah, Gang Gang Dance.
I have no idea what this one is.
Okay, this is like, if you've ever wanted to experience acid for the first time and you're afraid to do drugs, here, this album, this is like the most like psychedelic electronic album I've listened to. Granted, there's been a few of them on this list.
That's really good, Evie. That's really fucking good. That might be joke of the stream. You get a round of applause for that one.
Gang Gang Dance is a very interesting artist, but this, the production on this, just the many different variations of places this goes. I made you listen to this once, and I do mean made her listen, because it didn't mesh with her at all. But we were on a road trip, and this was the one where, like, a lyric track came up, and you were just like, this doesn't seem like it fits in the album. And I'm like, but it does. It's one of those things where it's like, where is this going, and how does this, like, end up here? That's another one of those bizarre, like, peaks in an album, but it doesn't go down from there. It's just, it goes in a different direction. There's so many different twists and turns in this one. It's one of those things where it's like, maybe I would call this, maybe when I think of like the Blank Mass album I was talking about, it would feel like kind of a more psychedelic, almost like kind of fluffier version of like that sort of album. It's really, it's a very weird, very bizarre, very intense, like hippies smashing their face into keyboards album, but I am a sucker for that shit. Despite the fact that I like European pop music, as you can see below, please take my word in saying this is very much an album worth checking out.
Okay.
It's a wonderful time.
My number 28 is...
God!
Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables by Dead Kennedys.
That's a good one.
The best classic punk album, like one of those infinite re-listenable ones, one of those ones that is sadly still fucking relevant today. Like, that album starts off with Kill the Poor and Who Doggy. That's still definitely a policy in the good old US of A. But yeah, there's still like fucking so many bangers on there. California Uber Allies is still so good. The only good Kennedy. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Like, it's good. I think this is like the quintessential like old punk album. Like, if you are going to go back and listen to something of that like specific era, this is the one to go listen to. Everything still feels incredibly relevant on it. Everything on it is so pointed that like you do not lose like an ounce of it. Like, it still is like, damn, fuck. Like, shit. But it's fucking great. Great album. Love it still today. So, make that one short and sweet. Just like the album, make it short and sweet.
Yeah, Goth Gash agrees. That's sadly irrelevant.
Your 28 is
El Oso by Soul Coughing.
Is that the one with I want to walk around in circles, walk around in circles? Is it that one?
Yeah, it's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yet another one of those, like, I looked into this artist and went, oh, they're good. This is good. This band, they're good. This is like listening to this band is like walking into a like weird sort of like warehouse where there's like a bunch of dust and a bunch of spider webs and a couple of clown masks and one guy who's sitting there rapping behind someone making a bunch of visceral noise. And it's fascinating. I know that like the other album, I'm trying to think what the name of it is. I can't remember for the life of me. Their other album didn't mesh with you, but I remember we were listening to this album once and you were kind of feeling it.
I don't remember enough about it to really recall.
I will replay it for you by force at some point. And,
I'm sure you will.
But I remember you were just like, oh, they actually made like some music, and they did. Yet another like front to backable, I listen through the whole darn thing whenever I hear an album. It's such a weird thing that sounds like between like the voice on the lyricist, between the just general vibe of the sound of the songs. It is unlike pretty much almost anything else I've ever heard. It's got elements of so many different other sounds, and it just creates this bizarre... It's a sound of its own.
Sure.
And very much an album worth checking out if you haven't heard their work.
All right. Then moving on to our 27s. My 27 is Playing the Piano by Ryuichi Sakamoto.
That's a good one.
Which is kind of a collection of Sakamoto just playing
the piano.
Yeah, playing piano version arrangements of a lot of his songs, and it is fantastic. It is one of those albums that is perfect for if you need to work on something, need something in the background, that type of thing. Fucking phenomenal for that. It has my favorite version of Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence on it, which is one of my favorite songs of all time on it.
It's a good one.
It's got some good, like, prepared piano stuff on it, which prepared piano is, like, where you, like, use stuff, like, inside the piano. Like, you'll put, like, I'm not sure, like, exactly what it is they put in it, but
something
they'll,
to, like, dampen it?
Not dampen it, but they'll like mess with like the inside of the piano to make the hammer hitting the strings on the inside more like weird percussive noises as opposed to like actual instrumental. Yeah, what Pooch said. You put stuff on the strings like forks and shit in there.
Oh, right.
So you get like weird, more percussive noises as opposed to just notes that you're playing with it. So it has like a lot of nice like prepared piano pieces on it. It's fantastic. With regards to Sakamoto rearrangements, I fond of 96 and the associated tour where it's him, one piano, one violinist, one cellist. That one is also very good, yes. But yeah, this is probably my favorite like just solo Sakamoto thing because it's very stripped down, very simple. You get into the core of like how good of just a general like songwriter, arranger, composer he is by just seeing how much he can pull out of these songs on a single instrument. Like you hear his version of like Bibi no Alzora, which that was the first song on Smoochie, which was earlier on my list, and like that song still has like a lot of depth and like just interesting sounds going on in it, even when it's stripped down to just the bass chords and melody going on in it. So
it's a good one.
It's very good. I deeply appreciate it.
Fair enough.
Your 27 is Nevermind by Nirvana.
This is a weird decision that I've made on multiple occasions, sitting down and going like, oh man, which is my favorite Nirvana album? You got basically 3 to pick from. And the end result is that, you know, whenever you talk about like Whenever you talk about, like, you know, an album being like, yes, of course this is your favorite album, this was the one, it's because when I was trying to think of the other albums, I was going, but, like, this one and this song, oh wait, those songs are on there. You know, these songs are just, like, on this album, actually, and I forgot. There's just... I'm trying to remember... Here's the thing, and I feel like shit because I can't remember the name of the song, but there's a song on here where he just devolves into screaming, and it's one of the, like, greatest fucking songs ever just for that. But, like... There's so much happening with this album. It is one of those things that you realize that there's a reason this is why this sent music in the direction it did in the mainstream for as many years as it did, especially under anything even remotely touching grunge music.
Drain You or Endless? Asks Wafidi.
I don't remember, but...
And then Gothcash says, never mind, higher than Eiffel 65, what the fuck? How dare you?
But no, yeah, it's...
I want to see those boys again at number one, like...
Yeah. Give it time. No, but, like, here's the thing. As a joke, I should have put it at the top. No.
Like number 0.
But I'm saying, Nirvana was one of those things that, like, you know, like, you hear baby boomers bitching about it, and it's like, this is so fucking undersold. Like, everyone got mad that this became, like, the band everyone wanted to be for a long time, but there's a reason. They're good. And, like, this album made such the impact that it did. I think this was the one that made them, you know, like, really relevant.
Yeah. It absolutely did.
Yeah.
Like, this was in the same era as Dookie for Green Day. Like, you want to talk about two bands that, like, fucking exploded out of the early 90s. It is Nirvana and it is Green Day.
It is, absolutely. And that's the thing. As oversold as the album seems, I think it is just their best album. I love every freaking song on it. It's just a really, really solid one, and it is the staple of a time in music. And it continues to be to this day as impactful to me and to many other listeners as it was at the time. And good stuff.
For sure.
Good stuff.
I'll never forgive Nirvana for making Alice in Chains viable. I have a live video of Green Day I want to show y'all someday. It's wild.
For sure.
Drain You is the one with the weird section in the middle with ambience and rubber duckies that crescendos with the scream, and Endless Nameless is just an angry breakdown the whole way through.
Yeah, I know that, like, their third album, I kept forgetting and thinking it was their first album because, like, Cobain had spent all of his money on drugs and they went, well, let's record this by any means.
Alright, number 26. We saw it earlier on your list.
Yep.
It's Endless Fantasy by Mataguchi.
Hey!
This one has strong emotional connections with me, and that's why this one is as high as it is for me. One, it is the best chiptune album. Like, it just is. It is so good to the point that it ascends beyond just that genre limitation. Like, it is a thing that is just kind of a good instrumental pop album. There's like a vocal song or two on there, but it's mostly instrumental. Have the connection of it being our song.
Of course, we have Snow Angels on there.
I mentioned it on the Discord at one point, but I saw them in concert while they were touring for this album specifically. We were with dear friend B, or I was.
You were. I didn't know either of you yet.
Yeah, with B at that show, and I went so fucking hard to the last song on this album that I literally threw up from, like, dehydration slash exhaustion on her boots, and she could not get mad at me. She was like, you went so hard that, like, I'm just impressed and proud of you.
That's a wholesome friend story.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's one of those things that, like, hits me in the chest. Like, I think that album has a stronger connection to me because of having seen it, like, in a very good environment for it, being around friends when I saw them perform live. Like, that album being as good as it is, like, it is just stuck with me throughout the years. It's still really good, even though I don't go back to it very much anymore. It's so good. Very, very good. REM is over. Yeah, REM is one of those bands that I've never understood the appeal of personally.
I've tried to get into them, but there's only a couple songs that ever really worked for me, and even then I've fallen out of it entirely.
And here's your 26.
Hey, Money Store by Death Grips.
Yes, it is.
Let me tell you, I discovered Death Grips through our friend Courtney. I believe, I think, did another album pop up earlier for me for this? I think
I was talking about Ex-Military on my list earlier.
But yeah, like, I think this is one that you and I have slightly different feelings on, because, like, I think that you feel like this one has, like, you know, slightly, like, more dropped points in it.
I need to bring down the music audio.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This song is
very loud.
Very, very loud.
A little more to be safe. There you go. But, like, this one for me is just a constant. This is a front to back album. This is just... I don't feel like the lower kind of profile Death Grip songs, if you can even call any of them that, have really that dip effect for me. I like that it gets kind of warbly, kind of slower. There's that, like, many different ranges of stuff. MC Ride has such a fucking incredible voice. He could talk over anything and it would sound like a fucking masterpiece to me. But, like, the production, the noise, just the sheer, like, amount of shit going on at any given time in any of the songs that they do, especially on this album, is just a wonderful ride to go through.
That's the thing that I'll say about the Money Store is I think that the high points on Money Store are some of the best high points for Death Grips as a group. Like, Get Got is fucking phenomenal. Hustle Bones is so good. Hacker is the best.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking solid ass song that just gets you hyped. Like,
it's definitely one of those I could listen to this before beating up 6 people.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what's so great about that song is it has the vibe of, like, you literally, it has, like, the ambience in, like, the first, like, 20 seconds of, like, outside of a, like, club or something, and you hear MC Ride's like, hey, no ins and outs. Like, it literally sounds like you're about to get into a fucking fight outside of a
and then the music kicks in, and it feels like you're about to get into a fucking fight.
Yeah.
It's just so fucking energetic and intense. And that's the thing, I don't consider any parts of this album a low dip or a low note on it. It all has this consistent yet changing feeling about it, and then it just fucking crescendos at the end and goes, oh yeah, because here's the thing, a lot of albums, as great as the, like, 90% of that album is in its beginning, tend to peter out. Like, if you're an artist and you make an album that's that great, usually by the end it's like, okay, get done what you're trying to say. This just goes so fucking ham, and then right at the end goes, oh, you thought we were done? And that's why I find myself sometimes just listening to the album on loop, like, especially if I'm driving and I just have it on, I'll just be like, keep going, like, the energy never died. I have to keep this going. But it's an addictive album. It's a fantastic one, and, you know, very talented artists. Just, you know, you've got a drummer who's basically a drum machine. You've got an incredible MC, and you've just got this the just really punchy, really intense production that just makes wonderful music. And this is fantastic album.
And my 25 is Irony is a Dead Scene EP by Dillinger Escape Plan. Fucking good, tight math metal album that has fucking... Just a reminder, you're halfway through top 50 and it's been 2 hours, so be mindful of your reservations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
This album's so good because it has Mike Patton on it for vocals. Mike Patton, if you don't know, is a guy that does weird shit with his voice, and it shows on this album. You get some of, like... It is 4 songs long. You have a cover of an Aphex Twin song on it. You have When Good Dogs Do Bad Things, which is my favorite Dillinger Escape Plan song. It's so fucking good. Front to back, great ass album. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet there.
All right. I'll try and do the same.
Another pendulum, more of the guy that...
Yeah, I can make this quick. It's more of the same beautiful stuff. This is almost like the second half of the album of, like, you know, Hold Your Color. It's just more of that same beautiful, wonderful stuff. And I found it after listening to that one, and it sticks with me more. I think this one's an even better version of that album. So just put it simply, that's them. They do this. They do the drum and bass. They're really good.
My number 24, Act 2, The Father of Death by the Protoband. This is the best rock opera album ever made. Like,
yes.
It is a perfect album, and the only reason it's not higher on my list is because it's a rock opera about Mega Man, which is fucking nerdy as shit. But, like, songwriting wise, it is fucking solid. Takes a lot of good inspiration from Streets of Fire, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
like,
there's some Queen in there too, a little bit.
Some Queen. I wouldn't say it's heavy on the Queen.
Not heavy, but there are points of it where it's like they definitely listen to all these bands.
Yes, I pointed that out, Gothcash, at like right before we started the first stream of this, which is very silly. The urge to talk a lot about things you really, really like versus the urge to not do a part 3.
Yeah.
We're kind of short on time in our schedule moving forward from here, so we want to get through this.
We want to get this done so we can get back to playing games.
Here's the thing. Act 2 is going to be on Bree's list, so just a little bit higher than mine.
Kenichi, Future and Light, yet again another thing I have in physical format, the Japanese release, you know, so it has Neon Runner on it. Basically just amazing contemporary Japanese electronica. It's good trance music, it's good, just good stuff.
You have a heavy emotional connection to it because of Raz, right?
No, I mean, like I found out he was on Res later, but I've known about this for a much longer time.
For sure.
It's one of those things that my sister passed on to me, and I was like, oh, I'm taking this CD. It's mine now.
Gotcha.
And then I eventually bought it myself.
Alrighty.
I think I still owe her a copy, because I don't know if I ever got it back to her.
And I mentioned it earlier, but my 23, here he is. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Really great, very personal album whereas To Pimp a Butterfly is more of a trying to talk about a lot of things. Good Kid, Mad City is a lot more like laser focused on like Kendrick Lamar's like personal experiences in growing up in Compton and shit. And it's essentially, it describes it on the literal album cover. It says a short film by Kendrick Lamar, and like it's literally kind of a hero's journey ass like album, but like a rap album. So it's great. It's a very, very good album. Like the last couple of tracks on there are fucking phenomenal and just hit me right in the gut every single time I listen to it. Looked up Mike Patton, saw Faith No More, don't need to know anything else about that dude. Yeah. If you know Epic, you know what that guy sounds like, but have you ever heard him sing metal? It's pretty cool. You're 23. Oh, there she is again.
Yes, she came up earlier. Everything we mentioned before and more. We can't really say anymore. We went off about this in part 1.
Yeah.
Like, which if you missed that, it's in the VOD on YouTube.
Yeah. Subscribe to our YouTube, youtube.com/wifecity.
But yeah, just amazing producer, amazing lyricist, just really, really great. We were re-listening to it recently, and I was just like, oh right, this was on that album too. Just there are these freaking emotions brought out in noise that just...
Well, that's what I was getting across when I covered it on my end, is like you have these like really... It starts off with like this really soft music and it kind of ends going back to that. And then like as soon as you get past that like first softness, it fucking kicks you in the teeth with Pony Boy and Face Shop. And it's like, oh fuck, all right, this is the type of thing we're doing. And
like I always forget how great everything after those is too, where it's just like, God, I forgot how freaking great this is. It's really good.
Yeah. My 22 is the acoustic EP by Against Me. This is where you get some of this is what I think is their best early album, Against Me, like pre-transition for her. Like you just you get like just simple stripped down like acoustic songs, her playing on guitar, and you can still see like even early on in her career as a songwriter, she was still making fantastic fucking music. And like it has Pints of Guinness Make You Strong on it. The acoustic version of that song is just hits me right in the fucking heart every time I listen to it. I adore that album. And again, it's like 5 songs long. It's a super easy listen through. Thank you for the subscription on YouTube, Black Bass 08. Appreciate it. I still need to change the alert box for YouTube on here. For some reason, that one looks really fucked up.
It's a little huge.
But year 22
is Apocalypso by the Presets. What a... I think they're Australian, I think. I need to look that up. But, like, what a fantastically, like... It would be really undercutting this to say this is an October album. This has, like, a sort of creepy vibe about it. Just really ka-chunks. Really some of the best stuff the Presets have done. A lot of, like, again, you know, electronic production. Just really ka-chunky stuff. Really just...
I like that description.
Yeah.
Chunky stuff.
This is, again, you know, and I was talking about this a little bit in the Discord, too, about, like, the later albums. There was going to be a lot of, this is a something felt and not explained. Like, felt, not said. This is a, just listen through My People and tell me that you're not listening through the rest of that album. Like, give this a listen. It is really, really solid stuff.
They are, in fact, Australian Goth Cash.
Yay.
Right.
But yeah, it's a very good listen and very, very catchy.
And another horse album on my list. We got White Pony by Deftones. My favorite fucking nu metal album. So good. Just good combination of like when you're still getting a little bit of like the weird like not rap. Like you could tell that they like are kind of maybe trying to do it a little bit to appeal to that audience, but not really that much.
Yeah.
And just a lot more of like doom metal-y, like shoegazy elements when they first start like experimenting with that. And I think those two elements like combined really created something magical in White Pony.
Yeah.
That you like, don't get me wrong, like the evolution of their sound over time is still really fucking good.
I do love their earlier work.
Yeah, I've listened to some of their later stuff that like they just put out an album like last year that came out this year, I think, and it's good. Like it is more in the style of like doom metal, like just very heavy.
Yeah, they definitely found their sound here.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this album so special is it is the album where they found and came into that sound.
Yeah.
And you could tell that they were feeling it. Like they hadn't gotten into the motions yet, so like all these songs, it feels like a fresh sound for them, and you could tell that they were really enjoying it. Something like Pink Maggot is maybe my favorite song on that album. It's very high up there in my like songs rankings. If I had to make one of those, maybe we'll do one of those in the future. That'll be fucking hard if we do that.
I could hardly do this, and even then I'm not entirely sure about my life choices.
Knife Party, so good. Change in the House of Flies, Back to School. Like
that's good.
Yeah, it's all really, really good. Fucking love White Pony.
I will say my experiences with that album were weird. I was super deep into it, and then like, what? Anyway, but like I had a moment where like this is getting into some.
It's on your list later. We could save it for that.
That's fair.
Just so we can move on to your next one, which is
The Mix by Kraftwerk. Okay, so Kraftwerk is this is like the crucible of where all of electronic music came from. They were the people who inspired YMO, and they said it themselves. A bunch of German dudes figured out how to make sounds come out of machines, and it's amazing. This has a lot of their like more modern live mixes and stuff that they play. I got to see them live, thank God, before unfortunately yet another one of their original members passed, but what a fucking amazing time that was. They are just a fascinating moment in music history, and this is some of the revamps of some of their older songs. The more modern ends of a lot of their hits and a lot of the outside stuff they were doing. Their music is just fascinating in the fact that it was this sort of that it was the sort of just beginning times of electronic music, that rawness that comes through in that in their earlier albums. Here, where it's more polished, it's even more beautiful somehow. I was kind of fighting with myself between either this one or Man Machine, because there's so many things on there that I'm like really obsessed with, but this was how I discovered them, was this album initially before I fell down that whole landslide, and it's the one I keep coming back to all the time.
For sure. It's pretty much a greatest hits album. The actual Kraftwerk albums tend to stretch 2 to 3 songs into 10 tracks.
Yeah.
And
so
then
it's
Golfgash describes it as a framework. Yeah. Alright, so my number 20, going to the completely opposite end of the spectrum, is Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antenna Towards Heaven by Godspeedy Black Emperor, which is my favorite post-rock album.
Yo!
It is just a beautiful sonic portrait of a post-apocalypse landscape, and it is so good. Sleep is beautiful, and every time I listen to it, I want to cry. Like, you could talk a lot of shit about them just kind of making the same, like, songs over and over again, just, like, you start off with a recording of, like, a kind of melancholic, like, of a melancholic man talking about something, and then go into, like, these swelling, like, kind of orchestral arrangements. But, like, this one is, in my opinion, the most evocative one they did, because there's a delicate quality to the post-apocalypse that they paint. Like, it's not just this desolate landscape. It is something that feels like there's a genuine care that is put into it. And I think that is, like, beautiful, and why it has always stuck with me, like, ever since I first listened to it.
Retta?
That's the best way that I can tersely describe that album.
So my 20, Floral Shops, Macintosh Plus.
/ Vectroid.
/ Vectroid, yeah. Sorry, Floral Shop by Macintosh Plus / Vectroid. If you've heard any of her work, she is just a freaking savant. I absolutely adore all of the things that she's worked on, but, like, this was where I learned about her, and, like, yes, a trans woman sat down and basically pioneered vaporwave music. It's just everything that one of those albums needs to be. It is the goal to which many things attempt to achieve it. It's just fucking incredible. It's something that happened in music that just was so new and so fascinating. I mean, a lot of people have very accurately compared it to slowing and chopping, but it's like, it's something societally intentional toward.
No, yeah, like trying to, like, debase vaporwave, like, and in its origin specifically to just, like, chopping and screwing music,
yeah,
I think
different.
Is doing it a grave disservice. Like, not that there's anything wrong at all with, like, chopped and screwed, like,
not
remixes of things, but like, there's a very specific intent to what they're doing. Like, Courtney has talked to us about this a lot. Like, Courtney was a part of a lot of that early vaporwave scene where it's like, no, you were taking, like, old, like, corporate music and specifically, like, altering that as, like, an artistic idea to kind of, like, illustrate, like, the slow death of capitalism, essentially.
Exactly.
Like, that's not exactly how they would describe it, but that's kind of
the sound of malls dying. And this is just she's the best to do it, and she still produces music, and all her music is great. I mean, and this is just perfect.
She's working on a new Macintosh Plus album right now.
I am excited.
She's also VTubing now.
Yeah, rah-rah's fun.
Anyways, my number 19 is...
What do we have?
Is Visu by Grace. great fucking album. Yeah. My favorite Thrice album. It's the Thrice album where they finally started to like branch out and try and do different shit with their music. Like they were kind of just doing like pretty standard like alt rock, like post-hardcore things before this, and then you get into this one and they start really branching out like with their compositions, incorporating a lot of electronic ideas, some more acoustic like piano stuff into their songs.
For sure.
It has like a lot of good texture to it. It's the album of theirs that I would say is their most solid album. In the way that I described them earlier as being like the most reliable band that I like, where like I always come back to them and I'm like, damn, this is another good album that you did. Nothing amazing, but it's still pretty good. But this is the one that I think like goes beyond that, where it's like, no, this isn't just a pretty good album. It's like, no, this is the best job that y'all have done with an album. And that them being like kind of my most reliable band, I think that makes it hold a special place in my heart because of that.
Fair enough.
I also lost quick funny story about one of the songs on this album. They ended one of the first live, I think it might have been the first concert that I ever went to was I saw Thrice in concert, and the last song that they played at that show was one of the songs on this album. People went fucking buck wild. Like one of those things where like the mosh pit was like kind of all over the floor. Everyone was getting pushed around and shit. My glasses got knocked off of my head and they were gone like immediately.
Vaporized into the ether.
And this was before I had a smartphone that had GPS on it.
Oh no.
So I had to drive out of downtown Los Angeles without my glasses on. And I distinctly remember the freeways in LA suck. Like, there's some where, like, if you don't move out of a lane immediately after getting on an on-ramp, you're gonna immediately get into an off-ramp. So I had that thing happen to me. I try finding a way back to the freeway. I don't have my glasses on. I try turning down one street, not realizing it's a one-way street. Thankfully, there were no cars coming down it immedially, so I turn and I see nothing but headlights.
Oh no!
And I'm like, oh! Bust a bitch, like, immediately get going the right way.
Yeah.
So that's my funny story with Visu.
Wowzers.
An album that almost killed me, technically. Oh, okay. Your number 19 is The Powers That Be by Death Grips.
I have to say, this and Money Store changed places in the assembly of this list on multiple occasions. While I was crafting this, it was so freaking hard. I'm still not certain about how I arranged them. Because here's the thing. One has a massive amount of range. This one has its own aesthetic throughout. And that's not a bad thing. That is just this is an entire painting of noise, of sound. I love is this the one, I believe this is the one where there's like a lot of like Bjork sampling on V-drums?
I think so.
Yeah, and like, I remember this was another one of those where like, Big Dipper. Yeah, Big Dipper was like one of the first songs that I heard by Death Grips. And it was just like, okay, this is fascinating. And the rest of the album kind of being in that similar aesthetic and hitting those bizarre sort of places was just, it's just amazing. It's transformative. It was this thing that's like, oh, I need to know this artist, like, about them, their music. I want to know more. Let me hear everything they've done, which I guess kind of led me to, like, Money Store, because, like, you were listening to that as well. And I was just like, yeah, that was yet another moment where I'm like, yep, this is still one of my new favorite things to discover in music.
For sure.
But just another really, really solid album by Death Grips.
Gotcha. My number 18, there they are again.
Yep.
It's Global Compilation Love the World by Perfume. Fucking Perfume is so good. Perfume is the best LaLicata project. Like, don't get me wrong, Capsule has some really fucking good songs, but like, I don't know what it is, what the special sauce that he puts into like the production on this, if it's just the like specific vocal stylings of the three girls in that group or what, but like every single song on that album, I had a moment last week, or not last week, but like shortly before we announced doing this top 100 thing, where I remembered this album and was immediately like, oh fuck, that needs to go on my list.
Yeah, I remember
and and you were kind of like, yeah, and that was the conversation that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I pulled it up and like started listening, like pulling up songs from it. It's just like, no, yeah, this one fucking slaps, this one slaps, this one slaps. All these songs are so fucking good. Like, I think that this is my favorite pop album, is Global Compilation Love the World by Perfume. Like, so many of the songs are good, so many good melodies, so much good production on there. Just a lot of interesting instrumentals on there. Something like Fake It that just has these like really harsh, almost like justice synth. Yeah. Or not synth, stress.
Oh, stress, yeah.
Yeah, like Fake It has a lot of stress on it, in my opinion, where it's just like really harsh and dissonant, and yet you still have a transition into like, okay, here's a chorus and here's a verse. Like, you get there's just so much. Just stop. You stop. Don't try to tell me to speed it up. Anyways, it's really good. Listen to that album. It's super good if you have not listened to it. All right.
Dismemberment Plan is terrified by the Dismemberment Plan. Okay, so wow, yeah, this what a fine band the Dismemberment Plan is. This was yet another one of those albums I was listening to right before I came to terms with being a woman again, so there's that kind of impact there. I found this after another album by them, but this one was just kind of the production on it is a little bit choppier, and I kind of love that sound for them, especially since they have kind of that scrappy sound about them. In that rawer state of being before they were doing other sounds, this was still like really, really, really solid. I love the album. I love the bizarre noises it makes. I love the very strange lyrics. And it's a fantastic album. Good time. Good listen.
For sure. Right, and here comes my last instance of Jeff Rosenstock, which is Vacation by Bomb the Music Industry. I think this is also like maybe the last instance of an album that I would say has like dips in it that aren't like perfect. Yeah. But for me, Vacation is a very evocative album of, in the same way that Worry is like the song of like your 30s and like realizing you don't have your fucking life together. Vacation is like the song of like your like mid to late 20s where you are maybe starting to get a bit more freedom, like maybe you feel like maybe you stabilized a little bit, but then just shit just keeps happening. Like you somehow afford to get a vacation, something like that. Like the album is called Vacation. It starts off with a song called Campaign for a Better Weekend, but like things just keep happening that keep fucking it up, or things keep happening, like the very circumstantial parts of your life keep occurring and just derailing everything.
Oh man.
And it's about like trying to enjoy the parts of your life that you can, despite all those things that just come in and like continue to like flip tables in your life.
Yeah.
Like there's a duet of songs. They're like spread apart on the album, but you could tell that they're kind of like they're supposed to be like twin pieces, like kind of held together. A song called like Everybody That Loves You and Everybody That You Love, and they're like two of my absolute favorite songs by Bob in the Music Industry, and one of them might be like top 10 favorite songs of all time for me, I think. Somewhere in there. There's just so many good lyrics in that album. And also, going back to the whole ska thing I was talking about earlier, this one is more of like just a kind of poppy, like pop punk type album.
Sure.
So, like I said, they're not entirely ska. They do have some different stuff.
Right.
But yeah, Vacation, my favorite, one of my quintessential like road trip albums. Whenever I'm going somewhere, I always put this one on the list to listen to. Like, it's usually the one that I listen to as I am taking off from wherever I am going to. So, great stuff. Love it. Your 17 is...
Quality Control by Jurassic 5.
All right.
This is definitely my favorite album by Jurassic 5. This was one of those albums that existed when I was like, I want to say 6.
You're all good, Kafkash. No worries.
Yeah. I was like 6 or something. My sister got into them, and I kind of secondhand did, and I was just like, oh, this is just stuck with me throughout the years, you know, as I got older and listened to it more. It's just more like, yeah, no, this is... I vibe with this so freaking hard. These guys are so goddamn talented. I saw them on the Feedback tour. That was a hell of a time. Surprisingly, you'd never seen a whiter audience at a rap show. But like, it was funny to find at least that the people in my town were predominantly like nerdy white people. But no, just amazing group of rappers. These lyricists are just fantastic. And I will say, despite being... There is one line in this album. Despite
you talk about this line every time.
Despite being the collective of unity and one and all and everyone mattering and everyone being the same, there is a lyric in this that goes something to the effect of, y'all ain't nothing but some bitch-ass queers. And I laugh at my ass off at that. And I'm just like, I'm giving them a pass. That's fine. That's fine. It's quite evocative of just kind of the problematic nature of, the music industry at the time. It's like, okay, fine, y'all can say it. Yes. So basically...
Automod is being homophobic. Automod, you stop it.
But yeah, no, but the funny thing is, when I did see them live, and they mentioned, and they did, like when they perform their music now, they don't actually use the N-word anymore. They don't use any of, the hurtful terms anymore. They just go, we don't, they even just said live, like, we don't like to use, words that hurt people anymore, so we just changed it.
For sure.
And I was like, that's so fucking cool. Y'all are my, like, swear jar. I love you. You inspire me.
Gothcash says, I saw Tyler, the Creator 3 years ago. I challenge you, that crowd was whiter.
Oh, yeah.
There's a good chance that they have a point. Alright, my number 16 is... The Unnatural World by Have a Nice Life. This is my favorite Have a Nice Life album.
You played this a lot.
There are some songs on that album that whenever I am in, like, not a great place, like, just in a bad headspace, I need to listen to, because it just makes... The thing about Have a Nice Life is I don't want to say I'm a morose person, but you live with me.
Yeah.
You know the conversations I have.
Yeah.
I very easily slip into talking about very dark things.
She does. She's on Twitter.
I mean, it's not really so much because of Twitter. It's
I know.
It's more just who I am as a
making
person.
a joke.
But
yeah,
I know I'm playing into the joke by giving a little bit of a stammering response.
Oh, yeah, doing the thing. That's playing off it. All right.
But like, I am the type of person where the type of media that I consume, I love to have media that
hurts you.
Not hurts me, but is empathetic towards, like, my mind state.
Sure.
So, like, a lot of times when I'm in a bad mood, I'll put on you're in a bad mood, you'll put on something that's happy.
That's not true.
Well, you've told me other times that like while I'm listening to something sad, that you're like, how do you do this?
Well, it's because you apply for work listening to the Disintegration tapes.
Listen, we'll get into that later. Don't worry about it. But like, because of just always having that kind of low level depression to myself, like that kind of music just immediately always gets to me. And there are some songs on The Unnatural World that so tap into that it digs into my fucking heart. There's a song on there called Cropsy that takes a clip from an old documentary. I think it's called Suffer All the Children, something like that. That's about like mental institutions for kids. That kids were getting like just kind of shoveled into, like with just completely inhumane living conditions. And you hear like this ambient opening of like the clips from that, and then it like transitions into the actual song itself, where it's just this like kind of post-punk like soundscape, like dark soundscape, and it's like, oh god, like it just puts you in that place, and it hurts, but it validates that feeling. It's like in the same way that a lot of people nowadays kind of are trying to not revive new metal or anything like that, but like be like, no, there was value to that music. Like you should feel angry at times. You shouldn't just be like happy or just sad, like,
or ironically detached.
Sometimes you're fucking pissed, and that's okay. Like I have that effect with stuff like Have a Nice Life, and I think The Unnatural World is like the best example of that for me, for one of their albums, where it's just like, oh god. So yeah, that's my number 16. Work is sad, so it makes sense. Exactly.
Hey, remember 2 albums ago when I brought up the Dismemberment Plan? Here they are again with their finest fucking album, Emergency and I.
This one's pretty good.
Yeah, the first album I heard by them, this was one of those albums that the first time I heard it, I was just kind of, I hadn't listened to a lot of things in that genre, and I was just kind of like, oh no, 8.5 minutes is pretty good. You know, that seems like kind of where it peaks. And then I re-listened to it, and I was like, oh, this one's pretty good. This one as well, I guess. And then the third time I heard this album through, because I was still very much intrigued by it, I was like, oh, this is actually just like almost basically a perfect album. I love this. I'm trying to think of like, you know, track names that particularly stick with me, like You Are Invited. You know,
that one's good.
That's a really good
Gyroscope.
one. Gyroscope is amazing.
Gyroscope is fucking phenomenal. That's the song that I always go back to on that album.
Spider in the Snow is another one that, like, it kind of missed me at first, but now I'm just like, oh, I actually absolutely love this one. You know, the first couple tracks, just amazing. Like, every little bit of it has some different sort of emotionally evocative feeling. And it's their best album. It's amazing work and just a fantastic album.
Okay, and here's on my list where this is the point in my list where I think I fully start transitioning into just actually perfect albums. Like, front to back, there's no slack on that fucking thing. And the first one for me is number 15, which is Sing the Sorrow by AFI. This is I
need water. I'll be right back.
Sure. Go ahead and go take care of that. This is like the best pop punk album of all time. Like, it is just so good. It's super cringe because, you know, it's goth punk, but I think it's great for that. I have a really strong emotional connection to it. Yeah, Breakdown and Seesaw Feeling, exactly. Like, sorry. I mean, I guess more at the time, like being into that kind of stuff would have been considered cringe, just because people would like put down like goth emo shit.
There's this thing about high school where everybody has a problem with you liking something.
Well, it was more bad for, like, if you were into, like, emo or goth shit.
You've shown me so many things, like, so many albums that I'm like, this is a fucking masterpiece. Why did everyone say blah emo shit, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
This is incredible. Why didn't anyone fucking tell me?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
There's, like, so many like that. But it's just like, fuck, I should have given this a chance earlier. It might have had a even more substantial impact on my life.
But yeah, Sing the Sorrow was also another one of those ones. I think Sing the Sorrow is my favorite album that I inherited from my brother. It's just, so good. And, well, here's the thing. I was talking to a coworker about this album, and apparently the one that was supposed to happen after, like, Black Sails, like, I think it was Art of Drowning, Black Sails, then Sing the Sorrow, was December Underground, which is, like, way more of like a poppy like kind of album. Like there's some heavy parts on it, but it definitely feels more like a corporatized like type of album. And to hear that was the one that was supposed to be next, and like the label like kind of made them do Sing the Sorrow, was so surprising, because Sing the Sorrow is their best album. They have not done a better one since then, and I don't think any of the ones that they did before it were better. Like, it's so fucking good. There's a level, like, it still has the elements of their earlier, like, albums, where it's, like, more on the punk side of things, but, like, there's a maturity to it, like, there's more of an atmosphere to it that just really fleshes out that sound. It's so fucking good.
God, we're getting to the rest of our favorites, and we do eventually need to end the stream.
That's why I'm gonna stop myself at that. Listen to Sing the Sorrow if you've never listened to it. It's a great fucking album.
We already went over this amazing, iconic, incredible rap album. There's never been another one like it. Just... yeah.
Okay. If you want to keep it at that.
Yeah, again, part one, we go off about how great it is. We've already said everything there is to say. Yeah, 13 Chambers. That's it.
Here's my number 14. It's The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance.
Hey.
Fucking so good. So good. Don't you know me. The Black Parade is so fucking good. I've been re-listening to this album like all week. Like, it was a little bit lower on my list prior to me making, like, solidifying it for this stream, but like, it is so good. Like, their other two albums, like, or not just their other two albums, they had 4 albums, but like, I Brought You My Bullets and 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge are good, but The Black Parade is so fucking solid, is so front to back, just, there is not a bad song in there. Like, every song, it is... Remember when I said that that Proto Man album is the best rock? I lied.
Oh.
It's not actually the best rock opera album. The Black Parade is the best rock opera album.
The Black Parade better than Proto Man Part 2. That's what she said.
I fooled you all.
That's Shay's opinion.
It fucking rules. Like, it's very evocative of a specific period of time in my life, but I definitely went back to it recently and was like, no, this is still really, really solid.
It's a fine album.
Yeah, you were listening to it along with me and were like, how did I never get to listen to this?
Yeah. I've heard this song memed, but I'd never really looked into the band. Why didn't I look into
light years ahead? I'm sorry. Well, here's the ultimate thing is, a lot of times I have trouble picking between my favorite My Chemical Romance album between, like, those 3 albums. Like, all 3 of them are really good in their own right. Like, The Black Parade is, like, their most polished one. Like, that is them hitting, like, a a level of production, composition, stuff like that. But because of that, I can see that kind of being alienating to people that want like a more raw experience. Three Cheers is like this nice medium between the two where like there's a bit more polish, but like it's having a bit more fun with it, as opposed to the Black Parade, which is pretty straight-laced and serious.
For sure.
And then you have like I Brought You My Bullets, which is like their first album, and it's like it's real gritty. It's like the songwriting on it isn't great, but it's like still pretty good. You could definitely see it, like see where they were going to go trajectory wise. So yeah, I don't know. I get like flipped around on those. First time I heard the title track, I literally sat there, mouth agape in disgust. I just can't.
Aww.
I can understand it not being everyone's thing. I fucking love that song. Oh, there's Linkin Park again for you.
Here's a weird thing for me to explain. This one remix album, the only remix album of theirs that I liked, somehow ranks above Meteora, because for some reason I heard this one before I heard like initially Hybrid Theory. Oh. So this was the first experience I had with a lot of those songs. You got a lot of features on here. You got Pharaoh Monch. You got fucking Charlie Tuna from J5 on here.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a fascinating, like, you know, rap rock amalgamation, a time in my life, something that just encapsulated so many different moments for me. And I'm gonna warn you all, everything up from here is entirely based on emotion and particular connections and nothing to do with logic and reason. So please don't be shocked when the rest of this is shit. I have like
that's not true. I know what some of your things are.
I have an emotional response to this album that runs so fucking deep into bizarre realms of my memory that I just can't pry it out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with it. It's just really good, and I apologize for nothing.
We know you're just messing around. Yeah, no worries. All right, my number 13. You foreshadowed it, but here it is. It is The Disintegration Loops by William Basinski.
Tell us about the Disintegration Loops.
So, to explain what the Disintegration Loops are, it is so William Basinski is a longtime composer. He had some tapes of ambient loops, like just real short ambient, like maybe like essentially like 8-bar loops or something like that, like nothing really complex, on like cassette tapes, like from a while back. And what he did for this album is he took them and he recorded them looping over and over again until the tape literally disintegrated. So as the recording continues, you could hear like the quality of the recording like getting worse and worse and worse. Like, no, yeah, it's really fucking cool. It's incredibly disassociative. Like, this is my go-to, like, I am, like, focused in on a thing and I need to work on something music. I just put it on and I, like, laser in on it and get it done. And the photo there for the Disintegration Loops, the story for that is when William Basinski premiered his album at his apartment to a group of friends, it was on September 11th.
You'll never guess what year. And
2001. And he could see the skyline from the Twin Towers, and that smoke, all of that, was a photo taken from his apartment. So not only is it this like very disassociative thing,
like droning,
but it has like this tie to like, this is also like the Disintegration Loops, like this is the continuously falling apart of the United States, of like the system that we live in, like everything is just on this fucking constant loop until it just slowly disintegrates and eventually falls apart. And
my wife is a very happy person. Hey, depressed people, we tell the best jokes, right? Yeah, so, but yeah.
Mr. beating all the big name musicians to rush to make the 9/11 album without even trying. Yeah, so that's my number 13. It's really fucking good. No, yeah, and it is Entropy, the album. Like, you listen to it and you feel that shit just slowly drifting away from you and getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And if you want to experience that, listen to it. If you don't want to experience it, definitely don't listen to that album. Whenever I need to work on something and I throw it on, Bree has to be like, can you put that on headphones, please?
Yeah, because that's the thing, I'm so depressed that when I hear something that is so evocatively, destructively depressing, it makes me worse. There's a level to which it stops being cathartic.
Yeah.
But yeah, very powerful.
Oh, talked about earlier, here it is again.
Just... yeah, what did we say before? This was what was the terminology we used for this?
I can't remember.
No, I don't know. Just we were having a moment. We were having a spiritual experience with this album when it came around. It was like it came up on the action button. Discord.
Wait. I have a way to describe it.
Okay.
The beats are good.
Yeah, there you go. This belongs where it is, and believe me when I say that. It's just one of the greatest things we've heard in recent years, and it's just really fucking good.
Here they are again. My number 12 is Burn Piano Island Burn by the Blood Brothers. Fucking one of the, like I said before, one of the best bands to ever fucking do it. What a great fucking racket these guys make. Blood Brothers make music that'll save us all. I'll post a link of a video about the thing that I was referencing on the Discord later. But this album is so fucking good. It is one of the best. It is basically the best post-hardcore album ever made. Like, some of the best noise rock that has ever been made in the United States of America. Like, it is just so good. The energy that they have to it is unstoppable. Like, the vocal stylings of the dudes in that band are like, just, there's no one that did it like they did exactly. Like, they were part of a specific genre and music scene, but no one did it like them. Especially once you put it together with the actual music itself. There's so many good songs. There's like, just as like from, it's another one of those ones like Vespertine where there's like a chunk from like the beginning until like 8 or 9 songs in, where it's like every fucking song hits. It's just good. And there's a song that's like not as good, but it's still really good. Yeah. And then it continues to just get good. And it has one of my favorite endings to an album where like it's just this continuous repetition of the phrase as the instrumentals are like crescendoing, getting louder and louder and louder as they're like repeating this phrase. It's like, everything will be just awful when you're around, and everything will be just awful when you're around. It keeps repeating that over and over again, and instead of ever giving you any release or like proper full like crescendo where like it feels like it hits a cadence, it just cuts off. It just stops at like mid-phrase at some point, and that is so fucking good. I love when a band is just willing to take that kind of artistic stance where they're like, no, you don't get a release. That's the point of this. You just get the dissatisfaction, and that is it. Like,
powerful,
fucking phenomenal album.
And yeah, Evie, that's kind of my response to the disintegration loops too. That's what it creates in me.
Edging an album, yeah. All right, here's your number 12.
Every Time I Die, The Big Dirty. You introduced me to this band with this album.
I need to use the bathroom, so you go ahead and talk about it.
Jay introduced me to this band with this album once during a road trip and sent me on a journey into caring as much about them damn near as she does. It's just, Every Time I Die is such a band that is just, that the absolute, like, the rage, the energy, the immensity. There's so much emotion that goes into what they write and what they do. This also kind of falls within kind of where they hit between being much more serious and kind of a party band. There's like a melding here of both of those energies. And so I am obsessed with this album. It's not a very long album. I think it might be an EP, but I could be wrong about that. But it's so solid, just hardcore, just screaming, just feeling just anguish and self-destruction. And it's just, it made me immensely care about this band for many, many albums beyond it. And it's a good place to start. If you're like, hey, who's Every Time I Die? Should I listen to their music? Start here. Fucking give it a listen. And it's fantastic work. That's basically all I had to... Yeah, a little bit.
So I'll say I basically agree with what you said. I heard you say that's a good place to start for them, but I want to specify that's a good place to start for that specific era of Every Time I Die, because that era is very much when they were still more of like, when the songwriting was still more of like very sarcastic, a lot of super tongue-in-cheek stuff, like where you could tell that like it was still more of like a party band as opposed to anything. Now, if you want to talk about something that's a good introduction to their current era, my number 11, Radical by Every Time I Die.
Tell us about it.
This album literally just came out, and it is one of my favorite albums of all fucking time.
Same. We were both blown the fuck away by this.
It is so good. It is so fucking cathartic. After the last year that we went through, to hear the first track on that album opens up with fucking Keith Buckley saying, slay, like... spare only the ones I love, slay everyone else, and he's literally like screaming for a plague. And he wrote that song in like 2019 before COVID happened. Like, you could feel like all the political rage and anger that has built over the last 4 years of like having to sit through all of the shit that, not just the last 4 years, but the last like decade or more. Like, you could just feel it dripping from that fucking album immediately. And then you get songs like Planet Shit, you got Desperate Pleasures, like every song on there just fucking rips. Everything on there is super earnest. Like, that's the thing, is like once you got to Low Teens, I described it a little bit when I talked about that album earlier, but once you got to that album, they kind of just stopped being tongue-in-cheek.
They let go of the ironic detachment, and just you can tell they're just at their fucking wits' end. And it's just, there are like, this is one of those albums especially for which there are single phrases in it that cut to my heart and make me actually start welling up.
No, the second to last song on that album, Keith Buckley says, what is it?
I think it's, there's more to life than anyone allows you.
Yes, that is the line. There's more to life than anyone allows you. And it's such a fucking simple turn of phrase, but it's the type of thing that's utilized in such a way where you could tell, this guy definitely has a fucking master's in, like, writing, because to be able to, like, weaponize as simple a sentence as that to just stab a listener directly in the fucking chest. Like, I started crying when I heard that part for the first time, because it's just like, oh fuck, like this band that I have like grown up with for 20 years isn't just this like snarky, like ironic thing anymore. Even they realize like, no, yeah, the way the system that we live in treats us is just completely fucked. Like it is just unavoidable at this point. The party is over.
Yeah.
At this point. It's so good. Like, there's definitely a recency bias here, but I feel like Radical is one of those ones that is going to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And possibly move up higher on my list as I get older. So yeah. And you're 11. It's White Pony.
We already talked about it, literally. Okay, so yeah, here's the thing. I didn't say my bit of it.
Oh, yes, you're right.
This album was so powerful for me that I actually had to not listen to it for a few years.
I remember when we first moved in together, I was trying to listen to it around you. You had to stop me.
I said, like, Jay, could you actually not play? Because here's the thing. I was in such a low point when I really started listening to this album a lot that this was like the area of pre-transition where I was trying to either off myself or get myself offed because I didn't know who I was, where I was going, or what I needed to feel any kind of happiness after, like, I guess it was like 24 years of continuous suffering and solipsism. And I just started trying to drink myself to death on a weekly basis, usually with that album on at some point. And I developed an issue with hearing it. I finally, thankfully, reached a point where I could enjoy it on an artistic level again and be with it in a healthy way, but it affected me so much that it became kind of an anthem to my own destruction for a while. That's just how powerful it is. I'm glad that I can hear it again without that association and like actually hear it again. But like, yeah, that's my story.
Gotcha.
Happy times.
All right, and now we're getting into the top 10.
Here we go. It's time.
Here's where knives are getting drawn.
Yep.
My number 10 is The Last in the Comatorium by the Mars Volta, my favorite prog rock album. Kind of my first prog rock album, but it's so good. I re-listened to it like the other night, and it's still so strong. Everything flows together so well. Like a lot of people like to cite Francis the Mute, which is their follow-up to this, as like their favorite Mars Volta thing. But I feel like that album is too bloated and kind of suffers the issue that I usually have with like prog rock, which is they kind of just I enjoy the vibes, but they have the vibes go on for too long. This one is just like nice, tight. You spend just enough time on each song that you need, and it's perfect for that. Every single song has like its own like good soundscape to it that you get a good amount of time to just sit in and live in that moment. And the ones that do go a bit longer, it feels really intentional. And even like the parts of it that are like bordering on ambient, it works in those songs in particular. And I think it's just phenomenal. Like, it is still such an easy listen. Love it front to back. No slack on that album. Perfect.
Lovely.
Love it. And there it is again.
We just talked about it. And same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 9. I know Golf Gash isn't going to be happy with me because they don't get MF Doom, but it's Mad Villainy by Mad Villain, the collaboration between God, what's the name of the producer? I can't remember the name of the producer.
No, the producer's going to be so upset with you.
It's fine. But MF Doom and Quasimodo, that's it. MF Doom and Quasimodo. Infinitely re-listenable rap album. So good. All the instrumentals on it are so good. All the songs are very like, just, I think you two seem very nice. I just only hate you a little.
Oh, thank you.
Understandable.
That's all we can ask for.
But yeah, infinitely re-listenable. No bad songs on there. Just has a solid energy to it that just like catapults you through it. Like, it feels like talking to a new friend or to an old friend every single time I go back to that album.
That's a good way to describe it.
It's that kind of album where it's just like, Hell yeah, Doom. Talk to me for a little bit over these Quasimodo beats.
Yeah.
And fucking love it for that.
All right.
That's my number 9. Your number 9. Oh, prog rock.
Speaking of some prog rock, this is probably my intro for the most part into, like, as most people know, prog rock. Fantastic band, some fantastic songs on here. This is just a fantastic profile of some of their work in a way.
Prog detected.
But my goodness, I absolutely love this album. Also, I will say, separate of this album, if you haven't heard like their live album recording of Arriving Somewhere But Not Here, somehow even better. Somehow even better than the studio recording, which in itself is incredibly powerful. So yeah, all I can say is it's fucking incredible.
Awesome. All right, my number 8 is An Anthology of Dead Ends by Botch. Fucking so good. My favorite like metalcore album of all time. Short, punchy. Every single song has like a fantastic fucking drive to it. And then there's like a song, the second to last song on it is like this very slow, like droney song, but it still has this like drive and rhythm to it where like you can still feel the tension from the songs that come before it. Like it just I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Like it's an ominous album. Like you read some of those lyrics and you can the name of the album makes sense. It's like this is a series of stories that are just about like people that are not in good places in their life or are like actively destroying other people in their lives, and it feels that way. Like it is one of those albums that utilizes its genre so well and utilizes its time equally as well. It's so fucking good. You can listen to it in like 20 minutes and you're done. Highly recommend listening to this album if you can give it a shot. Love it. Love the hell out of it.
Righto.
Your number 8 is Drunk by Thundercat. We're back again.
Yep, we'd already addressed everything I think we both wanted to say, but yeah, just fucking masterpiece. Very, very talented artist.
Okay. Then, where's the mouse? There it is. My number 7 is The Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails.
Perfect album.
It is a perfect album front to back. The best industrial rock album ever made. Like, Trent Reznor, he fucking killed it with his second album. Like, that's one of those things that's hard to top.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of tell why he took like nearly a decade off music after this, or after The Fragile came out. Like, there's a long gap. Closing with the Johnny Cash cover was a bold choice. But yeah, I don't feel like I have much to say about it.
Yeah, that's just one of those things that it's like it speaks for itself.
It's one of those ones that speaks for itself. It is a certified classic. Like March of the Pigs. Like, that is my favorite Nine Inch Nails song. It just kicks you in the fucking teeth.
Yeah.
And I never get tired of it every single time I hear it. Damn good album. If you somehow never listened to The Downward Spiral, it is one of those older albums that is definitely worth going back to. Alright, your number 7 is Act 2 Proto Man. Do you have anything specific to say about it?
Nothing more. We made it clear. It zipped its way up. The more that we
thought about it.
Yeah, the more that we thought about it and listened back to it, it was just, fuck, this is so fucking good. So yeah.
Okay. My number 6 is Either Or by Elliott Smith. Whew. Good. Elliott Smith is probably one of the greatest songwriters to ever live.
Really?
Oh yeah, like without a doubt. Like him, much like My Chemical Romance, a couple other bands, like I have trouble picking a favorite Elliott Smith song any day of the week.
Wow.
Some days it could be Either Or, some days it could be Figure Eight, some days it could be New Moon. Like, it's all over the place. If I allowed myself to put more than one of his albums on this list, there would be like 5 entries from just him. Like,
amazing.
And for me, I think Either Or is like the most stripped down and like compact of his works. Like, it is the easiest one to swallow. It gets his general vibe across the best, and it's just so good. There are so many songs on it that just fucking hit me right in the chest. Ballad of Big Nothing, Rose Parade, Punch and Judy, Say Yes, the 2:45 a.m. Like, all of those songs are so good. Again, another one of those older albums that if you have not listened to it, like, you should definitely give it the time of day. It is 100% worth it. It is not just a, like, this is an important thing that the young people should listen to. It's like, no, this one is just actually very, very good. So, that's my so far so good. No Weird Al. Number 6. There it is again.
We already covered it. It's just, I was gonna say, I think it's a perfect album, and that's the only place that you and I differ.
Sure.
You do feel that there's a couple of bumps, but I'm just
I have like 1 or 2 songs on there that I would cut, and
for
that's
sure.
it.
But I've front to back this album more times than I can count, and it's still really, really just fucking amazing, foundational, just good.
For sure. All right. Flipping back out of the city of Wise into the city of Toxies. My number 5 is Yukari Telepath by Koltar the Deepers. So good! God, Yukari Telepath is such a fucking good album.
I love seeing you fired up.
Oh my god, it's so good. Like, it just... There's such a wide soundscape on that album. It goes all over the place. Like, Koltar the Deepers, for those that don't know, is a Japanese shoegaze rock band. And they just... Yes, Galgash, they are. But, like, they had, like, run the gamut so fucking wide of, like, the actual, like, general sounds that they hit in that album, that it... And the fact that it manages to all gel together and turn into this thing that is as solid as it is so fucking amazing. Like, you go from a track like Wipeout Retake, which starts off with like a fucking shamisen like riff and goes into like a, like, not thrashy, but like a heavy metal song, into something like the self-titled track on the album, Yukari Telepath, which is like this really slow, soft, like melodic song, and then you go, like, can shift back into that kind of hard rock thing with a track like Evil Line is so fucking good. And then there's all these songs on it that, like, I've heard other people refer to as like Dreamcast Sonic Adventure Core. Like, there's just a certain stylistic sound to, like, whatever, like, pedals or synths that they're using for it that just give it that feeling. And it's so good. Yeah. It's so fucking good. If you have not, like, Gothgash, especially for you who doesn't have as much familiarity with those kinds of bands,
brilliant place to start.
You should listen to Yukari Telepath. It's really, really good. It is a great, solid listen. I personally could not pick a bad track on that album. The
more I hear you playing it, the more I realize I need to delve further into listening to it, and had I done that sooner, it would have been on my list.
For sure. Alright, and now you're number 5. The Jet Set Radio Future OST.
I'm fucking sorry, but, like...
Don't apologize.
Hideki Naganuma.
I have a video game soundtrack on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. Hideki Naganuma, you got, like, fucking, what do you call them? I was talking about them earlier, for Christ's sakes, in my thing here. I'm drawing a blank here. I'm so sorry. There's a lot of other bands that are in this particular collection, and everything between Jet Set Radio Future especially, but even outward into just Jet Set Radio in general. There were so many fucking artists that just... so many different songs that just defined several different eras of my life. This game had such a fucking impact on me that the soundtrack from it began to inspire the music that I would listen to in branching ways in so many different directions for years to come. And it's just one of those things that whenever I hear it, it's instantly making me feel happy. Bree, world's big... No.
No, Bree loves world's biggest Peter Griffin fan. Hideki Naganuma, I think, is more the joke that Graffiti's going for there.
Still. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Alright, on to my number 4 album. Delving into the okay, we get it, your LGBT category. It's Sainthood by Tegan and Sarah. Great fucking indie album. Like, it's probably my favorite like indie alt-like rock album. It's so fucking solid. Not a bad song on there. Like the ocean, hell. Like, the ocean is one of those songs that I had on loop for a very long period of time because it just so emotionally, like, not shook me to my core, but just like latched onto me. There's so many lyrical turns that they take as songwriters, like just little things in there, like little double entendres that they do lyrically that you don't really think about that much. Like, there's a line in the ocean that has always stuck with me where she says, stop crying over nothing, stop crying over me. And like, you can take that as 2 separate sentences, but also you could just put those 2 sentences together.
Yes.
And it just takes on this new meaning, and it's so good. It's so fucking good. This is one of those albums, much like Radical or Yukari Telepath, that I listened to and was immediately like, oh, this is one of my favorite things of all time, like, immediately. Like, right off the bat, once I heard it for the first time. It's fucking good. It's really, really good. So, that's my number 4. It's Sainthood. Your number 4, on the other hand,
Discovery by Daft Punk. Their best album, one of the best albums of all time. I fucking fell in love with this album when it came out, and like, I just never stopped listening to it. I listened to it multiple times in a year, every goddamn year. I love this album front to back. It's just fucking spectacular. It was a phenomena. It was an incredible shift in just everything that just meant the world to me at the time and continued to throughout. That's all I gotta say. Wonderful road trip album, too.
For sure. Alright. Keeping it short and sweet. The number 5 spot for Bree. For me, it was Yukari Telepath. For her, it was
The Jet Set Radio OST.
Yeah.
And Radio and Future, basically.
You're all good. No worries, Gopcash. My number 3, we're back to Midori.
Yeah!
My favorite album of theirs, Secondo. What a good fucking band. I miss Midori so much. I wish Mariko Goto was still making music like this. Like, I kind of already kind of talked about the majority of my feelings towards translator note, Secondo means second. I already kind of divulged my feelings on Midori as a whole when I spoke about their 3rd album, but Secondo is just front to back. There's not a bad song on that album. The energy is there the entire time through it. It is more like evenly shifting between those like really heavy things and the really poppy moments. And
Yeah.
it's fucking awesome for that. It has, but the thing that it also has that I felt the third album is lacking is it does that also in its instrumental shifts. Like I can't remember the name of the song, but there's one song and then there's Tokai no Nioi, which I think roughly translates to city smell, which is where I took my Twitter handle from.
Well,
Yeah.
a little J lore.
Yeah, there's some J lore for you. But that album or those songs have these shifts from like these very like kind of softer moments in the instrumental tracks themselves into like just fucking punching down at you sonically in such a way that you feel the emotional impact. Even if you do not understand whatever it is that she is singing, it absolutely surpasses like any language barrier. Like when you listen to Tokai no Nioi and you hear her singing over these like this constant like or not punches down. I realized as I said it that I phrased that wrong. but
Presses down on you.
Yeah, but like Tokai no Nioi has this just constant like drum roll to it, just pushing rhythm that just goes and goes and goes. And occasionally, like between the verses that she sings, it'll break out. Like the drums will still keep going at that same general like pattern, but the like guitar and the piano will start coming in more heavily, and it
swells.
It swells, but it swells in such a way where you feel like I said, where you feel the intention beyond any kind of language barrier.
We have like 7 minutes.
What's that? 7 minutes before we need to go?
Yeah, before we need to like start getting ready to go.
Okay, for sure. Well, I'll move on to your number 3 then.
Justice was... When Cross dropped, I remember my sister actually found this before it was kind of around in mainstream music. She found it, you could only get it, like, order it through, like, it being mentioned on, like, a French electronica blog that someone had. So she had to order it from France. And so we had that album, we listened to that, and we were like, oh, this is actually probably, like, this was the new discovery by Daft Punk for me. This was the new album that's just like, oh, okay, alright, this is fucking amazing. Sebastian does amazing fucking music, and this was one fine example of that production. I just can't say enough.
Okay.
It's just really fucking good. It's something that I just feel on this just deep level.
My number 2 is the Coloring Book EP by Glassjaw. If you remember last time, I talked about how Worship and Tribute had more of these turns into like more melodic, like the kind of what we were talking about with Deftones, where going into more just like almost doomy, like muddy sounds to their songs. Like the Coloring Book EP is where like Glassjaw kind of finally like fully started flushing out that sound, and I think that not only is like it's such a tight package that it's hard to like not like anything on it, but it does it so well that you just get absorbed by the mood of it, and it's fucking phenomenal. I can listen to that EP like on loop just constantly. Again, it's like a short like 25 maybe 30 minutes tops. I could just listen to that over and over and over again, and every single track on it is so good, and it always hits me like so hard every single time I listen to it. I absolutely adore it.
Okay, 100% nostalgia pick coming up here. High on Your Own Supply by Apollo 440. Fuck you, it's an amazing album. I fucking love the city that we live in, finally. The first time I came here, I've told stories about it. Weird little turning point in my life. Magically discovering a whole bunch of stuff that I was really fucking into, and just a bunch of music crescendoed upon me. This album, I found it here in this city, and I listened to it, and it was just fucking hilariously hyper intense to me, and just really, really fun and exciting, and just hits so many different little musical notes. Their jazzier stuff on Electro Glide and Blue, it has probably slightly more artistic merit, but this one is just like, oh man, my life's an action movie now, because I'm listening to this, and it just does so much fucking shit for me. This hits me in my white person soul. It hits that spot. I'm just like, yeah, fuck
That's certainly a way to describe it.
I just absolutely never got tired of this album.
Briefly returning to Cross before we reveal our number ones. Wafidi says, never heard it, but read it described as mastered for blown out speakers. And Gothgash says, that is accurate, but it's worth listening to regardless of the quality of your speakers.
Absolutely.
It's Me and My White Person Soul should be on the back of the album. All right, here we go.
Your number one. Wait.
It is The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused.
Wow.
What a fucking phenomenal punk album, like hardcore album, just front to back. Every single goddamn song on that album punches you in the back of the skull. Like, it is so good. Like, starts off with Worms of the Senses, like this, like, just ambient noise of, like, the city, someone, like, talking to you, and then just immediately hits you, like, with the heavy shit, like, as soon as it has an opening to... you listen to New Noise by Refused, and if you aren't, like, screaming along with that song, then there's something in your soul that has possibly died out. Like, the deadly rhythm is so good. Tannhauser Drive is one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, you want to talk about a song that is, like, composed so well to just have these, like, shifts between those really heavy moments to these soft things and do it well. It's so fucking good. I think, like, it's kind of in the name, but, like, I think it is the quintessential punk album. If you want to hear, like, if you want, like, a good summarization of everything that came before it, everything that was gonna come after it, like, Refused is, like, the core that, like, ties those two eras of punk together, and it is just phenomenal. No matter how many times I listen to it, I never get tired of that damn album. Definitely highly recommended. Like, I did not think that this was going to be my number one, but the more I thought on it, it was like, no, yeah, I don't think there's an album that I value personally more than this one.
Wow.
Like, it goes beyond emotional connections for me, and just, like, it hits me every time.
All right, and number one for me is Weird. I'm Just Kidding. We already said
Spiral by Nine Inch
Perfect
Nails.
album. Everything from fucking Mr. Self-Destruct to Hurt. Perfect.
Yes.
Motherfucking perfect album.
Yeah.
I've never heard an album as perfect as this album is perfect. It just sits way, 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 way up there for me. And
It's really good.
Yeah.
I was thinking that this was good, that it was going to be my number one.
You were mentioning it before. I was like, oh, I hope it isn't, because that one's mine. But
that would be beautiful synchronicity if it had been.
Where
turned
did
out
we
as
end up
both ours.
synchronizing? Was that Raw Denshi?
Yes, it was Raw Denshi was the one where we were synchronized.
It's an easy one to defend. It rolls. Yeah.
But yeah.
One honorable mention I'll say that when Jay mentioned it, I was kind of really intrigued that it didn't end up on my list, but the more I thought of it, is like Flood by They Might Be Giants. There's a lot of, that was one of those, like, when I was 5, I'd listen to this on a tape, and then I grew into, like, an adult hipster woman and still love it. Something that survived quite that long. The idea of hearing guitars and other instruments play the bizarre tones that come out of how you compose on an accordion. You know, there's just something about some of the writing and the songs and the fact that those are the catchiest goddamn songs ever written. And it didn't make it on here just because it doesn't have the impact that it used to. It didn't, you know, it did still feel kind of, you know, I hate to write them off as being like a novelty band, but at the end of the day, compared to the rest of the stuff, it was like, I can't. It doesn't mean as much to me as it did. I have to be honest with that. But it had an important moment in my life where it really, really made its mark, and I do enjoy going back to it.
Quick question from Afidi. How do you rank versions of Hurt, Resin or Bowie Cash? I haven't heard the David Bowie version.
I haven't either. Now I want to.
Yeah, I'm certainly interested in hearing it. But as for like which versions, I mean, I still prefer the original, at least compared to the Cash one. Like the Cash one is very good and has its own like feeling to it.
Yeah.
But like I think that they are just completely separate songs at that point.
Yeah, they are. Because that's the thing. I would put like Nine Inch Nails over it, because not just because they were the original one, and you know, I know that he kind of like said, here, this is your song.
No, yeah, it's not my song anymore when he heard Cash.
But I disagree. I feel like it has that almost disintegration tape quality of like feeling and hearing that like tearing apart in it.
Yeah.
The mono on the voice, the like grittingness of all of the tape.
Like I said, there's a specific texture and tone to it on the Downward Spiral that the Cash version doesn't have, and they are both extremely good for their own separate reasons.
Yeah.
I would have to listen to them both for a very long time to like try and rank them, honestly.
And I really respect the time in Cash's career that he covered that and that he was feeling that song.
Yeah.
You know, really great songwriter. But like for me personally, my connection would have to go with Nine Inch Nails on that.
Sure. But yeah, definitely give a listen to The Shape of Punk to Come if you haven't. Goth Gash, it's very good. You can shout at me on the Discord if you end up disagreeing with me after hearing it. That's okay. It's fine if we end up disagreeing. But
we'll try to post the
it'll probably happen tomorrow. We'll probably post it then. But just because we have to do the thing tonight.
Yeah. Say have to do the thing tonight. Like, we're going on an anniversary date, and then we're probably gonna see each other in less than clothing. So, tomorrow we'll do the.
Yeah, we'll post the list tomorrow.
Yes.
Also happening tomorrow is we are doing a collaboration stream with 80% Relatable.
Hey.
We're gonna be doing Jackbox Party Pack 8, which is gonna be a good old time. Gonna be a blast.
Oh yes.
But yeah, that'll be happening about 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST, all that jazz. What is the one last thing, Goth Gash?
Also, remember to send the sass.
Make sure the chicky tendies have time to cool so you don't burn your mouth.
I was eating like boneless chicken
but
before
also,
we started.
Speaking of sass, before we send over to her, I'm finishing off Twin Snakes with her on Monday on her channel.
Oh yeah!
We'll go ahead and set up the rate for that. Everyone, thank you so much for dropping by. We appreciate you sitting through us talking about our music for, again, another 3.5 fucking hours. We sped through that, and we still talked about it for 3.5 hours.
We did.
But yeah, everyone, enjoy the rest of your nights. Have fun over on Sass's stream.
Take care of
yourselves.
Take care of each other. Have a great night, and rave.